welcome back to the Great L Podcast. I am your host Kobi, and today I am happy to announce that we have a new guest host joining us today. May I present to you my good friend Liln.
Hi, what's up guys? Thanks for having me on the show, mate. It's very exciting to be here. Going to talk about this amazing franchise.
Yeah, it's just great to have you here, mate. It's been... what else to say, really? It's just been... we've only had 4 videos up on the channel so far, but there's been so much chaos behind the scenes. It's amazing I've gotten this far so far.
It's been absolutely atrocious to try and get our schedules lined up so that we could both do this at the same time.
I know. The amount of times... I mean, I planned like 10 videos to be made around November, if things went to plan. But goddamn, so many other schedules with other co-hosts, yours included, just came out of nowhere. They just did not line up.
Oh, I'm making it hard for you, boy. You have to work for this now.
Yeah, this episode was actually meant to be like episode 4 or something, but hey, we finally got to episode 2 at least. So
we're getting there slowly but surely.
Oh yeah. Okay, so introductions aside and all that, today we'll be discussing our thoughts on the Jurassic Park franchise. More specifically, the 5 films that have been released since 1993 to the present year of 2018. We'll be detailing our thoughts and opinions on each instalment in the series so far, give our thoughts overall, and dive down to what we think so far is the best trilogy out of the series. Okay, so going into the first film, of course, the classic that started it all, Jurassic Park.
The most beautiful movie that ever did exist.
Yeah, one of Steven Spielberg's bests, really, and there's nothing that's going to top that, really. Not even any of his other works.
Definitely.
In my opinion, though, Jaws does have a special place for me, but there's no denying that Jurassic Park is everyone, really.
Spielberg really likes lots of teeth.
Yeah. So, what would you say, mate, is your history with the Jurassic Park franchise, and more specifically the first film?
Well, the first film came out kind of when I was too young to go see it in the theatres, so I had to watch it on that good old VHS. But I remember that being one of my favourite movies at the time while I was younger, mainly because I still do as well absolutely love dinosaurs and everything they stand for, especially the eating humans bit. I would join them on that. But it's actually one of my most favourite films. It's so iconic. Every single scene I remember perfectly from flashbacks from when I was a kid. Oh, it's such good stuff.
On my part, really, I do actually remember owning a lot of the VHSs on DVD, the original trilogy, in fact. And I can remember owning the first one and watching it on TV with my nan every once in a while. The first film, it hits all the marks for a classic, in my opinion. It's... Again, we'll get to the main reasons why I think it is, but even on its own, when you don't try to look into it too deeply, it's just such an entertaining film in general. And that stems from everything from the man who's made it, to the time it was made in, to the actors chosen, and all that jazz. And it's no real wonder that they made a series out of this, so... yeah, I can see why it's memorable.
I'm really looking forward to biting down into the good scenes that they filmed for the first movie as well, because each scene is just perfectly timed, perfectly filmed.
I wouldn't go so far, but it's definitely got its standout moments. But I will admit it's not a film that's completely flawless, which goes into really the main thing, really. What would you say is the most memorable and iconic moment of the film for you?
Definitely the kitchen scene with the 2 velociraptors. That scene is one of my favourites and most iconic, and the one I remember the most, just because it freaked me out so much as a kid. The first scene with the T-Rex wasn't phased, but just when the velociraptors break into the actual kitchen itself, I remember it just being absolutely terrifying, so tense. I used to think, what if that happened to me? What would I do? I would get eaten, is what would happen. But yeah, absolutely one of the more favourite scenes, but definitely not the best scene, just one of my more favourites.
Oh. Yeah, for me, really, the most memorable scene that I remember from the first one is, of course, the T-Rex's big entrance, because...
Oh yeah.
No, again, taking out all the facts that it was an animatronic T-Rex from the beginning, or the fact that it was one of the big first steps for CGI evolution, all that kind of jazz. It was really just an intense scene to watch for the first time. I mean, you're watching a goat leg just fly on the roof of a car, and the next minute, you're seeing this giant beast that you've mostly seen in kids' books at the time just brought to life. And that scene that leads into the intense part of the film where, you've got to escape from this creature.
Oh,
that
and the
just
car
really stuck with
scene
me
as
growing
well,
up.
with it falling down the tree. That actually quite scared me as a kid. I don't know why. Yeah, I'd rather not. Cars and trees is a very common thing. Rather stay away from those scary trees.
I'll take the car. Yes. So what would you say is your most memorable scene then? If it's not the again iconic for the kitchen scene, but what would you say is the most memorable scene then?
I think one of the most memorable scenes is gonna have to be the actual opening when they discover the dinosaurs for the first time, when it gets revealed to the main few characters, especially when the Brachiosaurus stands up on its legs. Of course, that's a very iconic scene, just to show you the mass scale of these beasts that once exist. It's trying to give you such an overwhelming feeling of you are tiny and insignificant, and I absolutely love that scene, but definitely not one of my favourites.
Yeah, I'm actually I probably might surprise you with this one, but the most memorable scene for me is actually really the ending of the film. And it's not the T-Rex bit, it's actually the bit where they're on the helicopter flying off into the sunset.
I was going to say, is it the T-Rex bit?
Yeah, that bit is great. There's a scene for everyone, I think, in this film.
Yeah.
But for me personally, growing up, I can't really pinpoint when this scene became so iconic for me. But if you actually pay attention to the story behind this film, it's actually an allegory for parenting.
Oh, I suppose it is. Because the entire time it's like the dude that hates kids is bonding with the kids. Mainly because that one kid will not leave him alone for whatever reason. You the dinosaur man?
But yeah, that ending scene where you had him go through this entire film pretty much hating kids but learning to accept them and grow fond of them, and in the end of that film where he's just sitting down in the helicopter and he just looks at these two kids and then he looks at his girlfriend, he looks at Ellie. That scene, coupled with the music of the moment and the fact that it's the ending of the film too, it really just kind of just stuck home for me how, you know what, in this moment I want to have a kid one day. And I guess that's always kind of grown with me growing up. Even now, every time I watch that scene, it's a little bit of warmth to me to say, yeah, I'm going to have a kid one day and I'll be able to look back at the scene with him.
Oh, that film, I look at it, doesn't make me want kids, but it makes me want dinosaurs.
Yeah, they're cool too. So, yeah, scenes outside of cool scenes and iconic moments, really, going back to what I kind of touched upon a bit earlier, the message of the movie, again, the story of messing with nature, chaos theory and all that. Would you say the message behind the film works and is lasting? For a film that's like 22 years old or something.
Well, one of the things I do love about the Jurassic Park series is they carry on that message throughout the entire, every single movie. So it keeps getting refreshed in your mind every single time you watch one.
Oh. You know they don't, do you?
Yeah. Don't mess with nature, that's like...
Oh yeah, that bit I guess, but the other stuff regarding the other themes, like the kids and the parents and the characters.
Oh, not that bit, I'm just talking about don't fuck with nature.
Yeah, in my opinion, really, again, kind of touched upon earlier, but I actually watched this video in preparation for this podcast, where I think this guy's called Mike Hall, and he does a great video essay on the archetypes and the subtle messages behind Jurassic Park, and he goes into deep explanation about the factors of parenthood in the subtext of the first film, and he brings up a great example of that in scenes. Again, people can check that video if they want to. I think it's called Jurassic Values, but he brings up a great point in another video he did where he's basically talking about comparisons to the later films of the series compared to the first one. The subtext behind the film in regarding the parenting and the care of kids against these creatures of modern technology, it's a lasting feeling that connects with everyone every time we watch it, which is why it's so accessible to everyone, I think.
Yeah.
that's mainly one of the prime things that I think makes this film work so much. For a film that's 25 years old, it really does stand to a testament that, not only do you have a film that is groundbreaking in CGI, it's a film that it ticks all the right boxes for being the right kind of movie category. It's a message that I think everyone can relate to.
Yeah, it's one of the messages that I more forget about, because the first few times I watched it, obviously I didn't quite realise, because I was quite young at the time, the whole like parenting thing from the first movie. But when I do watch it again, it does give a lasting impression that, personalities can change, people can change. Like Alan Grant, that was going through this entirely terrible time of being chased by dinosaurs, has learned to actually like kids, which is something that I would never be able to do. I hate kids, but Alan Grant is a hero this world needs.
I hope your kids don't hear this one day.
Oh, I hope they do. It's the first thing I'll show them.
Okay.
You were a mistake.
Oh God, mate.
Exactly like the last movie. So
yeah. Okay, so speaking of last movies, we can go on to the next movie of the series, Jurassic Park: The Lost World. Now,
this movie.
Yeah, so honestly, let's just get sort of into a decent light, at least. What would you say is okay about this film? What are the saving graces to points of this film?
To be honest, it's what they're trying to do in the film. When they first go there, it was the reason was for research. Or initially it was. That's why the small team went. But everything happens so funny in the film. I don't know. It's so hard to put together, just because the film itself was kind of a cluster for me.
Yeah, the film is really self-referential at points, and it's really distracting, especially in terms of the character and motivations and actions. Because you get the Ian Malcolm. His mission is to basically go there to save his girlfriend. That's understandable and kind of relatable, but you're going on this from the basic premise that these people have to go back to the island to essentially save the dinosaurs.
Yeah.
And sadly, this goes into the category of the save the animals message kind of thing, which I'm not too much of a fan of, because it becomes so preachy when they do it wrong. And this film is no exception to that. And this film, it's mainly characters making stupid decisions and doing things that just end up getting them into worse situations and get others killed.
Second one just made me lose it at some points, like when the kids turned up.
Oh God!
And it's like, why would you do this? There's animals bigger than anything we've ever seen, with massive teeth, and they're going to eat you. The actual father of the daughter that snuck in just didn't seem as mad as he should be.
That kid is a cliche of the 90s. It's all up there. That is another thing, problem with this movie.
It was literally something holding them back. That's all she was written in there for.
No, it's not that. Regardless, this film was written as well and directed by Spielberg again. But I feel like this film suffers because of the times it was made in. I mean, this was a film that was made during the times of Independence Day and Armageddon, and I feel that this film tried to cater to those audiences to an extent, because we know it's based on a book, and again, I'm again not much of an expert on the book side of things, but I do understand they tried to adapt it as closely as they could. But I think if that's the case, I think even the book suffers from this kind of area, because it's just, again, it feels like a movie that was made just because, the first one was a hit, we have to see the dinosaurs again, because people were saying there weren't enough dinosaurs, so that's what we do. But how do we make the characters interesting?
I don't even remember them putting more dinosaurs in the movie.
They had a few more.
There was a few more, but there wasn't an abundance.
Oh yeah, there was the bit with them being chased down by the Engine Corporation. They had a lot of scenes in that. It was meant to be like the chase scene from the first film when Tim, Lex, and Alan are running away from that herd, but times 20 or something.
That's golly mimus. I love that bit.
Yeah, the film has a lot more dinosaurs in it, which is pretty evident, but it's also lacking in the characters. That is the main problem with this film, and I think with every subsequent film that fails, because it doesn't take into account the characters and the story of the characters. Story 101, the story has to focus on the characters. The first film did this greatly, because it was basically the story of a man trying to bond with kids, basically trying to learn how to be a father.
Yeah.
Every other character had a role to play as well. Even the corporation, essentially the guy we're meant to hate, John Hammond, but we love him because he looks like a granddad. But yeah, even he has to go through an arc of understanding that what he's done is not safe and not good for the human race.
Don't you soil that old man's name? How dare you? He's
I'm sorry,
a treasure.
Mr. Attenborough, but
he is a national treasure.
Well, all Attenboroughs are. But yeah, even he goes for an arc, and by the end of it, they're all changed. With this film, what's really changed between Kelly and Ian, or Sarah, or goodness, whoever else was part of this cast of this film? Because they're just there because dinosaurs, and they have interactions, but the interactions are very stale to just being very boring. I mean, the amount of points where you were just sitting in the chair, just feeling bored out of your mind, saying, "When are we going to get to the dinosaurs?"
It was a very long build-up.
Yeah, and not in the good kind of build-up where you're interested and invested in the characters or the conversation they're talking about.
It wasn't a decent build-up, but it was a build-up, a very long build-up with not a great payoff.
Yeah, but yeah, the daughter. And I'll give this to pretty much almost every film in this series. The acting is decent. It's not downright cringy at points, or execution-wise it is. The writing is terrible. But the acting-wise, the actors do their best with what they're given.
Oh, Jeff Goldblum's awkward self. It's so good.
Yeah, I think Jeff Goldblum is awkward in everything, but that's why we love him so much.
Yeah, that's him. That's his most amazing feature. I just need him to like repel all the dinosaurs with his glistening gold chest again. Oh, so good. Best scene.
Yeah. But yeah, he's again we give this film a pass, I guess, because of Jeff Goldblum, because he's the highlight. But even he has very stilted lines. It's just very very weak in execution. The CGI is good. It's a bit step up at points, but the characters, the villains, the main focus of why they're there, it's just there because we need to collect the dinosaurs to create another Jurassic Park.
Was it?
So you haven't learned from the first film.
Was it more CGI than the first film? Because the first film had a lot of
they definitely
mechanics.
amped up on the CGI this time.
Yeah, that's one of the things I didn't like as well. It didn't look as smooth without kind of the puppet dinosaurs. Like, there's even a scene in the first Jurassic Park when the Velociraptors come into the kitchen. If you look carefully at the back when the Velociraptor bursts through the door, it's about to tip forward, so someone has to grab its tail, and you can see the hand on it. So
really?
It's a full, like, it's very hard to spot if you're not concentrating, but it is there. It's made it to the final cut of the film. But that's how you can tell it's a full life-size model of what they wanted their Velociraptors to look like.
Yeah, the CGI at points is good, and I'll give them credit. They shot a lot of the scenes at night, so it stands out more to be realistic in that area.
It was an improvement, CGI wise.
Yeah, it was an improvement, but I do feel that they took the focus away from the storytelling aspect of characters and focused more on the scenario more of, oh, we've got dinosaurs, but we need to have them be in situations where they have more screen time, so let's have the characters do stupid shit. I mean, the Greenpeace character played by Vince Vaughn.
Yeah.
I have never hated a character more in my life.
Oh, so did I. I hated that.
Until he was out annoying by that other guy. We'll get to him in the final film. But his role is essentially just meant to be like the MacGyver of the team, and he's pretty much there to take pictures at first, but then it's revealed that, oh, he's actually the MacGyver there. He's here to help them free the animals if Engine got there first. But again, we don't really know much about this guy other than the fact that he's part of this Greenpeace movement. And what is his reason for helping the dinosaurs? Oh, he lets them go, and they end up killing people. And again, there's arguments to be made about saving life, those kind of things, saving animals. But the thing that frustrates me is that we know, and these characters know, these creatures were designed in a lab by humans. And they should have been left alone.
I guess that's that's also the message that they're trying to give is just because they were man-made, kind of similar to dogs in a way, if you think about it, because dogs aren't natural. They were bred by humans.
No, but a species of dog existed before we came along and changed them until they were what they are.
Yeah,
we know
that
today.
was the wolf, and we bred an entirely new species out of them, which is the dog. So we've made a new species of animal.
Yeah, but this is literally creating life in the form of dinosaurs for these characters, and it's the sense that these things should have been left alone from the moment the first film ended. But again, it's part of the excuse to go back to the island to make sure they are preserved for that.
I don't think they got it across too well. What was the reason they actually went to the island in the first place? Was it just to kind of research them, or was something happening to the island? Oh, I remember the first scene. Someone discovered the island with the little kid that got attacked by those little whatchamacallit thingies.
Saltopus or something. I think that's what John Shaw's head wants.
The little baddie bitches.
Essentially, it just boils down for me that his character is just very frustratingly annoying, mainly because his actions get people killed. People that, for all intents and purposes, they go on to rescue them, when he brings a baby T-Rex into their enclosure, and they end up getting... their campsite gets destroyed by the parents. And so that's all his fault. It's the girlfriend's fault too, because she didn't bother to stop him. And again, it's just common sense. You're the animal expert too. You're meant to know these kind of things. You'll bring the baby into your campsite.
I don't think we were meant to hate the character, but we did hate the character.
Yeah, that's the thing. You're meant...
He's meant to be a lovable goofball, but he doesn't come off anything like that.
Yeah.
He comes off as an idiot, but not just like a goof, not a goofy idiot, not a funny idiot, not the comic relief idiot. No, he's just an idiot that is there and he doesn't deserve to be there.
Yeah, and it doesn't also help that later in the film he goes on to actually steal one of the only cool guy's bullets. We essentially don't know much about him, so he's kind of like the mysterious guy that we know.
He's kind of similar to the one in the first one with the hat, because we don't know much about him ever. You know, the clever girl one.
Yeah, he's got. I think the only thing we know about him was he was like the, I don't know, hunter protector of the park.
I think they were trying to bring that across with all films. There was the cool hunter guy that seemed to have his shit together, but was sometimes evil, I guess, in some of the movies. But yeah, we can get to that.
Yeah, but yeah, he's cool. He's entertaining to watch. And it's a shame he's not part of the main cast roster, because his scenes are cool, and you kind of buy his reasoning, but again, it's still meant to be on the side of animal rights, so again, we're meant to hate him. But again, because of the character's actions that we're meant to be rooting for, it makes it hard to relate to them, because they're just so idiotic in decision-making, getting people killed. Why are you bothering to do this? And again, as I was saying, Vince Vaughn goes on to steal this guy's bullets, so... You basically condemn the man who helped you to die.
Welp. Rest in peace, buddy.
Thankfully, the guy doesn't die, but I wish Vince Vaughn had died. But yeah, I'm getting that out of my system now.
I'm quite curious. Do you have a favourite scene in this movie? Or a scene you find quite iconic?
Iconic? Honestly, the only scene that I would say is memorable and is slightly iconic is the ending when they have the dinosaur invading Los Angeles. And that's mainly just because it's just entertaining to see dinosaurs on the mainland for once.
I always forget about that scene as well. It's kind I don't know why, but as a kid, I think I skipped the end to this movie. But when the T-Rex actually is in Los Angeles, what happens to it? Do we ever find out?
Yeah, the T-Rex escapes its enclosure on the ship, and it goes a rampage around the city, but eventually Ian Malcolm and his girlfriend are able to apprehend it by capturing its baby and basically drawing it back to the ship, and again, comeuppance for the bad guy, because he's rich and he wants the dinosaurs. He gets eaten by the T-Rex baby.
I see. I've absolutely forgotten about that scene. There wasn't.
Really?
Yeah, like even the last time I watched it, when I watched that bit, my mind glossed over it.
Oh god, this film! I see this film didn't leave an impression on you after all.
Yeah, it really didn't. Honestly, this is the one I remember the least about. And rightfully so. I think my memory has done that on purpose, and I hope so.
Lucky you then.
Yeah.
Again, this scene of itself is entertaining, but it's the only scene in the movie that's really entertaining in my book. And a bit of trivia you might not know, there's actually a scene in here that this entire scene is actually kind of like a homage to those kaiju movies of the 60s, where they had Godzilla and Kong just going around doing rampage stuff. And I can actually remember...
He is quite Godzilla-y.
Yeah, and I can actually remember there's a scene in the film where you see some Japanese men running away from the T-Rex, and they're basically just talking Japanese, and it's actually translated for them saying, "I left Japan to get away from this."
Oh, that's really good, actually. I like that little... that's a nice little Easter egg they threw in there.
Yeah, and Nostalgia Critic actually pointed out something for me, that there's a scene in the movie where you can actually see Arnold Schwarzenegger on the poster for a movie in a VHS store for a film that does not exist.
I think we need that movie to exist. Honestly.
Yeah.
That's the one good thing to come out of that movie.
Yeah, it was King Lear, I think. But yeah.
My favourite scene was when they were going through the tall grass and they were each getting taken out by velociraptors. I really liked that scene. Just because it was... I don't know, it felt scary. Like, they couldn't see what was attacking them. It was a very fast-paced action bit. I remember seeing the POV cameras of the team with the guns. I don't know what they were actually called. Let's just call them a SWAT team. Where they got like dragged off by the velociraptors into the tall grass, and you can see
that was in Jurassic World.
But I swear that was in Lost World as well.
Yeah, I think the camera like stays on the audience from like distance point really, but we do get a great shot of the velociraptors just like chasing after them from an up angle.
Oh, okay. Forget that.
Yeah, I can see where you're coming from. That scene on its own is a bit intense and it is cool.
See what I mean?
Every scene with the dinosaurs is cool.
See what I mean?
But that's all they have to offer, really. Cool dinosaur scenes. It could be a compilation of, oh, look at these dinosaurs, so cool. But the thing that makes this film forgettable, really, is the characters.
Yeah.
Again, it's a cliched film from the 90s. It's basically Independence Day. Well, not really Independence Day. It's more like,
I don't remember
The Day After
Aliens.
Tomorrow. Sorry?
I don't remember no aliens.
Yeah.
That'd be great if they just came down and just like took the dinosaurs and left. They were like, "These are ours now. Bye." It's like, oh, that would make the film amazing.
Yeah.
Jurassic Space.
Yeah. don't you dare get them ideas. But yeah. Yeah, the film feels more like, again, a product of its times. It's like The Day After Tomorrow, where you don't care about the characters, and the characters have either weak or cliched motivations. The dinosaurs are the highlight, like the disaster is the highlight of those movies. Most of the characters are expendable. It's just a film that's there because dinosaurs. And again, I could say that is a draw for it, if people just enjoyed the first film because of that. As you said, you didn't notice the subtext, and even I didn't notice it until I was a bit older.
Yeah.
So, again, for all the team knew making this film, the kids love the film. They want more dinosaurs. Let's give them more dinosaurs. What about the characters? Oh, we did so much focus on the first film doing this subtext that kind of went over their head. So let's just give them what they want and do the basic stuff.
Yeah, they didn't try too hard with this film. I felt like they were just trying to compete with the current market in terms of like action sequences, because there was a lot more action bits in The Lost World than there was the first movie, or at least a lot more hectic ones. I think one of the ones I did actually kind of like was when the truck was hanging off the cliff and they were trying their best to survive. For some reason, that's the one scene that did stick in my head, but it by no means was it my favourite. I really didn't enjoy the movie, to be honest.
Yeah. I can really just say that overall it's a film that left a lot to be desired, because for me the characters were just so frustratingly annoying, and mostly in their actions, and what they excused was their reasoning. again, you're meant to hate the bad guys, and I did, because they were also cliches, but the only guy that you really kind of wanted to root for was Pete Botherfree's character, Roland, because he's mysterious and cool, but his reasoning makes sense, even if it is within that territory of animal hunting. Again, going back to the first film's message, these creatures are dangerous beings created by man. So you make it, that message is already been
recreated by man, at least.
Yeah, so it's already been established now that these are dangerous creatures.
They shouldn't exist in this time period.
Yeah, it just makes all the characters' reasonings in this film just stupid and annoying. CGI is better at points, and it's entertaining to watch the dinosaur scenes, and I do remember the Jurassic Park in Los Angeles scene to be one of the more iconic ones from that film.
Yeah.
But that's it. There's nothing really in this sequel that really offers more to the table and entertainment outside of just the scenes if you look at them on their own. Again, it's like the movie you kind of watch with friends just for the fun of it, really, rather than sit down with your family and feel a feel-good movie like the first film.
Oh, I mean, it's definitely not a feel-good movie. You definitely feel a bit gross after watching it. But
yeah. And I guess speaking of being gross,
let's move on to the third entry in the series, Jurassic Park III.
I'm excited to hear your opinions on this, because I actually liked the third one. And I know for a fact that you really don't.
Oh. Yeah, well, another one took the place of 3 in the last year since, but again, I will say that I am not much of a fan of this one. I will admit, it's not terrible, but it does
better than
feel...
the second one.
At points. It does feel very pointless in the grand scheme of things. It feels like a lackluster sequel made with an excuse just to see the dinosaurs again. And the main thing for me is that because
the reason for the film was absolutely dumb. The plot of the film was absolutely dumb. The scenes for me were very memorable. Mainly, it was kind of the dinosaurs got this massive upgrade in CGI, and they actually looked really, really, really good. I mean, this might be from memory from last time I watched it, which was quite a while ago, but I always remember when that Spinosaurus runs through that forest, the first thing I thought to myself was like, well, goddamn, that's a big-ass dinosaur. Like, and I fell in love with the Spinosaurus. Like, them introducing a new kind of massive carnosaur threat was amazing, and I think it was a very, very good thing they did to introduce the big threat and have it kill the old threat. It killed a T-Rex in a fight, and everyone was like, oh my god, this thing is stronger than a T-Rex, what are they gonna do? But my god, was this movie far from perfect.
Yeah. Okay, oh boy. Okay, I'll just get my thoughts literally out of the way with this one.
Go for it.
For me, this film is a lackluster sequel in all the right boxes too, because the main reason for why they go there, again, motivation, character, reason why, and more so it's also because of the decisions of storytelling as well.
With Alan Grant.
Watch the first film, he's skeptical of these dinosaurs, he understands they're dangerous, but there's a wonder to them that he admires and loves because of them. And in this film, off the bat, he's downright hateful of them, and they're monsters, they have to be destroyed.
It was a big jump from the first to the third.
Yeah, there's no transition to that. He's just on the bat, yeah, I hate them now.
If they said it was due to like PTSD or just like the pure like fear of the dinosaurs themselves, but they didn't mention any of that. Of course, like, it's kind of self-explanatory that the first experience gave him a bad experience, but it's the fact that they didn't say like he hasn't been the same since or anything like that. Any kind of like information to the audience about why he's changed this drastically. When did his mind change? When he got back, a little after he thought about it, before he left, when, I don't know.
Yeah, and one of the other more frustrating facts about it is that they again, I still have yet to find a reason why they did this, but they split him and Ellie up for this film. She's married someone else now, and she's got a kid and everything.
That might be why he's so pissed.
I am pissed. That again.
Do you ever see Do you ever see her new husband? Do you ever see?
Yeah,
that?
he's in the same scenes as them. He's like in only like that one scene, and he seems like a decent guy. But it's just so frustrating because you went through the entire first film knowing they were a couple, and you go through those messages and those subtle scenes and the allegories of them being a couple trying to have kids, and the ending too. The ending literally hints that he's gonna be happy to have kids, but in this film it's like, oh no, in the like 7 years that have happened since that film, he could not. Yeah, he could not commit. After that experience, no, he could not commit, so she married someone else.
My God.
Fucking hell.
Infuriating. It wipes away the entire message of the first film.
It's not only that, it's more frustrating because there's a reason they could have just not done it. I'm assuming, my fan theory is that they did it because the actress who plays her, Laura Dern, didn't want to be in the film, so they relegated her just being a cameo, but they needed an excuse to her not to go to the island. So they just said, oh, let's just have them divorce and still be friends, so there's no excuse for her to follow him on this journey. But, god damn it, you could have had them be a couple. Hey, you could have had him had a kid, and she could have stayed home looking after the kid. Or, more interestingly, her kid could have been the one that could have gone to the island, because he could have heard these stories about his parents go to this mysterious place, but they don't tell him about it.
Not that
because,
kid.
Again, they're scareful for him.
Not that kid. Is this the dinosaur man? Hello? Hello? It's that phone scene infuriating me.
That scene. God damn it.
It's the dinosaur man! And then he's like, oh! So, I get that's like, I don't know, how you talk to a kid, you know? Do you remember me? I'm Alan Grant, the professor, and the kid's like, hello? And you're like, the dinosaur man? And he's like, oh, I got you, my dude. But
yeah, those points mainly infuriate me because, again, what you could have done with a third film, a film that is, this series wasn't planned as a trilogy. It's very obvious. But there's a sense that you could have tapped it off in a good way. You could have ended the series as it was, with Alan and Ellie together, and they could have gone on this final mission to save their kid, maybe, from this island that they've had one bad experience from, but they have to confront it again to save their child. And they could have maybe even continued the theme and message of parenting. But no, instead it's Alan Grant being kidnapped.
They could have easily continued the message. So easily. The whole thing was two parents going there for the reason to find their child.
And not only that, but there's actually the original script they were going to do. Even that sounds more interesting. Again, I don't really know the full details to it, but apparently the script was basically going to be about Alan Grant living on the island, doing research on them, and then he comes across, whatever reason, some connection to a group of people, and they basically have to escape the island or something like that. But again, that sounds more interesting because the script acknowledges
much more interesting.
Yeah, and the script acknowledges that Grant still has a fascination for the dinosaurs. He doesn't just regard them as monsters.
Yeah.
That's
one thing that did confuse me a lot in the film as well, is the fact that Alan Grant didn't like the dinosaurs anymore, even though that was his job.
Yeah, we get it. They're scary creatures and they need to be feared, and we should leave them alone. But at the same time, there's a fascination that came with Alan Grant's factor. So you'd think they would make sense to connect with that, or at the very least continue it, or explain the evolution. But in this film, off the bat, it's just different because, we need him to hate the dinosaurs.
Screw them dinosaurs.
Yeah, and that's not just getting to the fact of the rest of the cast in this film.
that scene, the megaphone scene, was like amazing.
God, it's unintentionally hilarious, but you can't help but get angry at them. Again, they're like...
It did set the mood for these guys are fucking idiots. They have no idea how to survive, and that's why Alan Grant is there.
Yeah, but that's the thing. That's the frustrating thing. He's there just because he needs to point out they're stupid.
Yeah, pretty much. And he's there so he can be like, can you, shut up? I would much prefer if they went by themselves and got 8.
Yeah.
That would have been hilarious.
Yeah, they're annoying and pointless, and there's a lack of energy to them too in their performance as well. It's just...
I've got to say though...
God damn it, this film's getting to me.
I gotta say though, throughout this film, and overall in general, definitely not a good movie. But it's a very fun movie. I found it very fun to watch all throughout it, just because stupid shit happened. Like, one of the most memorable scenes is when they found the guy in the parachute, like hanging there. Whoever the hell that guy was from the video. Do we know who he was?
Yeah, he was the wife's ex-boyfriend. Again, real subtle that movie. You want the couple of divorced, but her old boyfriend gets killed, so the husband can move in and take back his place.
The husband. It makes sense now. It's probably best she didn't go then. She saw that. Ooh.
Yeah, this film had again, and it's funny how she sees her dead boyfriend's body and she freaks out, but immediately it's straight back to it's not him. I'm not sad about him. It's our son. Understandable, but god damn it, he was your boyfriend.
Wow.
So let's talk about your priorities.
I mean, like, still, you can be sad about it. Don't worry, love. It won't undermine how sad you are for your son at the moment. But, like, god damn, it's called empathy. Try it sometime. I know it's just a prop skeleton there, but, like, it's that basic human emotion. You know that thing? Yeah, try doing that.
Yeah, speaking
That's
of
why the
emotion.
son ran away, because she's just a sociopath. She's like, all I care about is my children, and like even the children runs off. It's like
speaking of her son, going on to the kid in this film, I will say this film does have two saving graces for me, aside from all the funny moments and the hilarious talking raptor scene.
Alan. I forgot that was in the film. I forgot that scene. Alan, wake up. It's
Yeah, but yeah, aside from all those hilariously silly bits,
why was that scene in the movie?
Because they had a spare prop on set, I guess. But yeah, the main saving grace for me of this film, at least, is the kid in this is very well acted. Again, as I've said before, all the actors in this are okay. Even the kid actors at points. Again, I'll give props to the actress who played Kelly in the second film. She wasn't bad, but her character was just so annoying. But in this film, the kid is more competent than his parents.
The kid was out there surviving.
Yeah, he survives for 8 goddamn weeks on this island without causing a disturbance, and yet his parents are only there for a day, and they already nearly get themselves killed.
They run out with a megaphone.
Yeah.
Like, where are you, little Timmy?
But yeah, his character is a lot more interesting because of that factor to him. And again, it kind of adds credence to the hope you could have had if he was actually Alan Grant's kid. It could have led to some nice bonding moments, and it could have maybe explored more of the themes of parenthood, of, you have to survive in situations with your family. You need to be with your family to survive these dark times, that kind of thing.
They could have made it so the reason he survived that long is because he knows so much about dinosaurs. Because Alan Grant taught him. Maybe he could have been even his godfather. That might have given some connection.
Yeah, even that, as far-fetched as that is, it's a lot more interesting than having him just be kidnapped by this random couple.
Yeah.
It's
a silly film, but oh my god, is it like glorious?
Yeah, his scenes are okay. He does eventually become just the token kid of the film for the rest of the movie, but his opening scene when he has to save Alan Grant is cool. Yeah. And the other saving grace that is mainly the main thing for me is, of course, the pterodactyl scene in the cage.
That was a very tense scene.
Yeah, I think I can say that was the first time I watched a Jurassic Park film that made me feel a sense of dread. When you were just walking through this bridge in the mist, you hear something at the other end, and out of nowhere you see this big bird creature just walking towards you. The fact that it was
walking instead of flying did make it absolutely terrifying, and that I applaud them. That was an amazing scene. There's
always that one scene out of every film that I think works, and that scene was definitely a solid for me.
Mostly it's introductions to the dinosaurs that tends to be absolutely terrifying, and then from then on it's kind of there's not too much you can do, I guess. The dinosaur has been revealed. Now it's going to chase you down and try to eat you. There's only so much you can do with that, I guess. But I feel like after that bridge scene, that entire scene didn't feel as threatening.
Yeah, as it kept going, I did feel a kind of sense of, they're there now.
How did the eggs not crack in that bag, by the way? That is like a movie mystery.
God damn it, because logic.
The one scene I really loved was when Alan Grant was surrounded by the Velociraptors. His moment about to come, one about to leap at him, but then he pulls out that fossil of the, I think it was a type of voice box, or like an esophagus of.
Yeah, it was meant to communicate with raptors.
Yeah, it was.
Bloody
I mean, it
stupid.
was the fossil bone, so the air would go through that bit of the bone, and that's what would make the noise.
The thing is stupid because again, it's just there to get them out of a day. It's just a Deus Ex Machina. It's just there to get them out of the situation when they're cornered by the raptors.
I really like the scene though, just because he's trying to apply the knowledge that he's learned about the Velociraptors, trying to get them to not eat him. In desperation, he tries whatever he can, and his one best option is to try and communicate with them.
Maybe it's a shame they don't they don't demonstrate that in acting wise.
Yeah, I mean, that scene wasn't amazing for acting, and I just remember the look on Alan Grant's face the entire time, with that amazing iconic mole on his face. But for some reason, it's one of my favourites. To be honest, now that I've gone through it, I don't know why. I just like the Spinosaurus. I like that you get to see some other dinosaurs as well. They showed you a Carnosaurus, which is the one with the horns. They introduced a new threat, but for 2 seconds.
Yeah. Great ideas, terrible execution.
Yeah.
I guess it boils down to that, really. This film was it didn't need to be made. It was just made because, we've got it. The last two made money, we've got contracts, I guess, and this guy wanted to make another film, so let's just make another film.
Still better than the new Star Wars saga, so.
Oh, yeah. Nothing beats the new Star Wars films. The newest one was terrible. Yeah, that's a podcast for another day, thank you.
We'll get back to that. We're coming for you.
But yeah, Jurassic Park 3 has problems, and it is goddamn boring at points. It has 2 saving graces, but that's not enough, really, in my opinion. But I will admit, it's a guilty pleasure to watch. Mainly especially when you're drunk and you have friends to watch with it.
Yeah.
I'd say this, it's a film that didn't get me completely frustrated. When I watched it, it's more frustrating because of just thinking what could have been with it, rather than what I'm watching on the screen. Because the Kirbys are stupid, but their motivation is by all means understandable, family related. The guys in the second film, it was just, save the animals. That's our motivation. So we can excuse getting people killed by these monsters, even though we're trying to save them. Because animal rights. Fuck off.
I guess it makes sense, but the way they did it was bad. It was bad. It's they could have done it so much better. What kind of ways do you think they could have improved that film, do you think?
Which one, the second or third?
The third. The second's gone, mate. The second's got, that, you can't fix that. Put another Jeff Goldblum in there, that'll fix it, but...
Again, I just feel like, I kind of touched on it earlier, I just think that it would have made so much sense just to have the story be about Alan and Ellie going back to the island to rescue their son. Yeah. I just feel like that's a more interesting story to tell that continues what it was set up in the first film, as opposed to just having Alan Grant go there because he was kidnapped. It's all just about what you think would be good for the characters, and if this had been the case with Alan and Ellie, it would make sense not to bring them back in the next few films. Kind of does cap off the trilogy, because regardless of what you think of the second film, that's more or less Ian Malcolm's story, so you can kind of sidestep it saying, oh, this is for the Ian Malcolm fans, but the main story that ties through all 3 films, sort of, is the story of parenthood, the story of Alan and Ellie, the story that people related to. So I think that would have worked had they just stuck with that, or at the very least they would have just tried that, or thought of that to begin with.
Yeah.
I know there was alternative scripts for what they would have done with Jurassic Park 3, but none of them come close to what I would have preferred. Again, the worst one that they did consider, that thankfully they did not do, was Teenagers on the Island. And they literally described that as being Friends, but with dinosaurs. So, yeah.
Ross would have kicked their asses. I don't know what you're talking about. But
yeah, but again, it's just disappointing, really. A waste of potential for, at this point, a lackluster franchise. Because at the end of the day, the first one was the only ever good one. But I think the second film was just frustratingly annoying. The third film is just downright boring at points, but it's entertaining in some scenes, and that's it.
Yeah. I mean, third one was entertaining, second one was absolute shite, and the first one was a gold mine.
So yeah, going beyond the treasure trove, we now go into more or less the new era for Jurassic Park. So Jurassic World was honestly a long time coming, really. So between the release of Jurassic Park III and Jurassic World, we went through a phase called the Wilderness Years, which essentially boiled down to scripts kept being brought in for Jurassic Park IV, but they were all turned down for reasons. And many of them had one consistent plot that would carry over into the main film, which was the exploration of hybrids. Some of these plots and discarded scripts included some interesting ideas, and even some returning characters, notably Dr. Malcolm and Grant, as well as John Hammond, and some of these pitches honestly do sound a lot of fun. And there was even talks at the time that there was one script considered to have Lex involved, and we'll get to that eventually near the end of this video. But coming to the end of all that, we eventually got Jurassic World, starring Chris Pratt and Bryce Dallas Howard, and to that film, I can honestly say it's not the worst film ever made. Off the bat with this film, what do you think about it, Lennon?
Well, I really like the film. I think it's very, very fun. It's definitely really entertaining. They definitely hit that points they wanted in the film where they were just like, let's just make it really entertaining and fun. But by no means does that mean it was a laid out correctly film. I think it does have a lot of problems. The way scenes are introduced, the way some of the characters are written is really annoying. Especially kind of with the main characters. I don't really like them at all. Their personalities that they gave them isn't very interesting or structured very well. So I never found that too entertaining. But the film itself, great fun.
Honestly, in regards to the overall series, this film does feel like second best. It's an entertaining film in regards to the fact that it's just more of a spectacle. It's clearly just there because dinosaurs. But unlike the previous two films, which just felt like they were made with the excuse of, oh, we need more money and people like dinosaurs, this film feels like it's made by fans of the films, but at the same time it does feel like these fans didn't really have an idea for character growth and story and a good story. It feels like the story beats are there to tell a good story. I mean, the idea of exploring a fully working Jurassic Park is what fans have been wanting since the first film.
And a high-tech
one of those
one as
what-if
well.
stories.
One that seems like it's impenetrable.
Yeah, and this film does kind of deliver on that, but it doesn't feel like it's fully committed, because there's scenes peppered throughout the movie of these two kids in the movie interacting with the park.
Oh god, I
getting their
hate these
experience.
kids. Let me tell you about this the big brother. Do you remember his name?
Zach.
Oh, Zach. Like the entire beginning plot that they are there, he's like, hey, I kind of like my brother, but I'm too cool to like my brother, so I'm going to hit on girls the entire time I'm here. And then I'm going to drop that all of a sudden and change my character arc completely to loving only my brother. It's like, oh, he went for a lot of puberty phases in the space of 10 minutes. It was...
Yeah, it's... This film jumbles a lot of plots, I guess, but they don't really go anywhere, especially the plot with the kids and their parents. I mean, the most glaring one is, of course, the parents' divorce subplot, and I think everyone's already pointed this out. It's kind of like a common thing to complain about with Jurassic World, but that plot is literally there because there is no reason for it. It doesn't interact with the main plot, it doesn't have any consequences in the long run, and since we know they don't come back in Fallen Kingdom, or likely the next one, it doesn't warrant anything outside of, oh, it was there. And I guess that might have been the writer's intent to make the characters be more relatable, but at the same time it's like, so you were expecting an audience to relate to their parents getting divorced.
Yeah, that was such a weird scene on the train where the kid just everything's fine. They're having fun. They're going to a ride, and Zach's over there like, "Hey, ladies," and then he turns to his little brother and he's just like, "His mom and dad getting divorced," and it's like,
what?
And it's like, oh, why are you crying?
God damn it, we get it. You've got a child actor that could cry.
Yeah,
but couldn't you have used that for something better?
Couldn't they brought it up at like, there was no segue into it. It was just like, oh, by the way, our parents are getting divorced. This is how we're going to tell you. Just gonna stop crying randomly about it.
Yeah, that plot.
While I'm having the fucking time of my life.
Yeah, pointless plot, and there's other minor plots to it that don't make sense. The film introduces the concept of every dinosaur having a tracker on it that shocks them if they get too close to citizens or something.
Yeah.
But that's completely discarded the moment the Indominus Rex breaks out, and they explain that it clawed its chip out, but that opens more can of worms. Like, so how did it know? We get it's intelligent, but it spent its entire life caged up.
Well, I mean,
so how
the point was its memory is so good that it remembers that when it was born, where the tracker was placed. That's how intelligent it was from birth, and that's kind of a scary concept.
Yeah, but they never established that it knew things from birth. And what I was getting to, the other dinosaurs in the park, when they get out, they don't get shocked.
Yeah.
So again, it's established in the film, but then they don't fall through with it. Yeah, it was more like it was just, oh, we need the dinosaurs to make a scene, but we don't want the collars to interfere or whatever, so we just forget about it and hope the audience don't remember, and we didn't. But yeah, it's those are the primarily flaws the film has
in terms of characters, anyway, as well.
Getting into the characters, actually, I'm with you on that front. This film continues the disappointing trend with all the sequels of the Jurassic Park series, where the focus is not put onto the characters, it's just put onto the spectacle, and god damn it,
I feel like they tried to copy
the main thing,
Jurassic Park with their characters a lot, because like you got the Alan Grant guy, which is Chris Pratt. He knows a lot about dinosaurs, especially velociraptors.
The thing about Chris Pratt, Owen Grady's character, when it boils down to his role in the film, he doesn't go through an arc. He doesn't grow as a character or learn anything from his experiences. He feels like an archetype of those action heroes from the late 80s movies you watch.
He is a bit too badass for his own good. He's got no flaws in the first film.
He's a character that essentially goes through the film, basically saving the world, saying he was always right about everything, gets the girl, and then he has even a sidekick, which is the Velociraptor Blue. It feels like he's just filling a quota, because, again, he's played by Chris Pratt, who's, at this point, is a big hit because of the MCU. And
he's really good at that, though, to be fair.
he's good, he's a charmer. But that's what the audience... I think that's what the filmmakers are just relying on with him. He's a charmer, so we expect the audience to buy into him because he's a good looker and he's a charmer.
The old Ryan Reynolds
what does it boil down to his character? He worked in the military. How long? How long for? Why did he quit? If so, what experiences that made him go through?
Because he accidentally shot his Velociraptor partner. And
it's not explained. It's just there because, oh, we need him to be a badass and we need him to be able to survive these things. But, like, again, character. Going back to what I said about the first film, the reason the first one works and why we relate to it and why we continue to enjoy it all these years later is because the characters are memorable and they have arcs and journeys and character traits that last with us. Again, they can be cliche, but they're relatable regardless because of how they are used. All the sequels, and especially this one, in the form of Chris Pratt's character, they're just there to fill the story so they can get to the dinosaurs.
So with Claire, the other main character in this as well, they, again, stuff kind of mirrors back into the first film with her character. Very similar kind of badass woman character. But she does change kind of halfway through the movie very suddenly, where she's just like, oh, these are just, dinosaurs. It doesn't matter about them. They're just in for entertainment. Like, she doesn't care about them.
Yeah, her character is set up to be the corporate woman, and she's meant to be just there to kind of say, oh, they're just here for the benefit of us at the park because they're animals. And yeah, understandable, but it boils down to the fact that it's terrible decision making on her part and on the other's part, but mainly her part. Again, the one thing I found frustrating about her character is that she's overall a terrible person when you compare her to everyone else. Again, in the scene where Chris Pratt's saying, oh, you need to evacuate your men, they're going to die, that thing's too dangerous. Yeah. And she's just ignoring him.
Yeah.
Even though she asked him for help earlier.
So I don't need your help now, I have more armed men. So
and you could say she kind of has an arc in the form of learning to take care of her sister's kids. But even then, that's kind of like, it's just there. And it doesn't really add to anything other than the fact that yeah, it justifies the kids being there. And since again they don't follow up in the sequel with this, it's a pointless subplot.
Yeah.
It feels like it was just made up because, we need the kids to be there, but we need them to have a reason, so let's them relate to the main character.
I did actually kind of like that she did change from the evil old culprit woman when she had kind of a traumatic experience being in front of a dying, like, giant, already extinct animal.
Yeah, but I still feel like she should have suffered more. I mean, when you think about it, she gets her assistant killed.
Oh yeah, her assistant gets fucking ate by that Motosaurus.
Yeah, she gets killed, and what's Clara doing literally seconds later, or seconds before? She's kissing Owen, and she doesn't even give a second thought. She doesn't even acknowledge her.
Care. Yeah. She's heartless. I didn't even realise
I feel like the character was written to be like that, and it would make sense if at the end of the film she has this dilemma where she just admits that, I'm a terrible person, and maybe the film could end with the idea that we can fix that, or whether we can learn from this. But the film ends more on a hopeful note, saying that, what do we do now? Well, let's just stick together to survive. Because, we're together now, even though we clearly broke up for obvious reasons.
Yeah.
And that's another thing that I want to talk about. Their romance, filling a quota, because, it's a blockbuster movie, we've got to have two characters that are hot, and they kind of like each other. But what happens? They broke up in the past, so they're bitter towards each other.
I hate that so much.
I hate the fact that this is such a bloody thing in Hollywood. I get it. There was some appeal to it. But how many times do we have to be told, they don't like each other, but they will, they won't? Just tell a good story. Why couldn't this have been their
two
first meeting together?
Two opposites attract and stuff like this. It's like, God damn it, stop, please stop.
Oh, God.
Please stop doing this. Like, do you know what would be so good if Chris Pratt was just, she was like, maybe we should kiss, and he'd be like, no, I just want to be friends.
Yeah, that would actually be quite funny. If she goes in for a kiss and he's just like, what are you doing? Are you seeing what's going on around us?
Yeah, it's like, now?
Yeah,
right
that would
now?
have been a funny thing. But yeah, and
in front of the kids, by the way. Just straight starts tonguing Owen. Like,
I'll just say this as well. What do you think of I don't know why this bothered me, but that point where the mother calls Claire and she basically goes into a crying fit about how she's not looking after her kids. But how did you feel about that scene?
Was that when Claire was crying to her?
No, it was the mother was in the middle of a meeting or something, and she calls Claire to check out how the boys are doing, and she answers and she says, I'm working right now, but they're doing all right. And then the mother just breaks down saying, I just wanted you to make that bond with your kids, even though you've never seen them in God knows how many years. And I kind of felt,
oh yeah,
why do you have to have any say in this? Because your sister is working in one of the most probably important jobs in the park, and she's
fucking busy, lady.
Yeah, she's only built her life up to this point.
Take care of your own
to get what
kids.
she is now. Yeah,
why didn't you go with
you're
them?
Complaining.
Why didn't you get with them?
I get it. You're going through a divorce, but God damn it, aren't you meant to be the one trying to work things out with your kids, or at the very least find someone else who is able to be there for them, not jump them on your sister because she happens to work at a park that has dinosaurs. It's good for the entertainment factor, but human relations, contact, bonding, social stuff, that's kind of important when it comes to these things with kids and difficult marriages. Again, I'm not saying this out of experience, but you'd think that there would be a reason, but it just feels like, because they're divorced, they've got to have the kids here. Again, it kind of adds to the fact that, this subplot didn't need to be here. It's just there because they're filling a quota.
It's just to make the kid cry on the train again.
That too, yeah. I'll just say this just because, out of respect for the actors, almost all of them in all the films, but primarily in the new films, the Jurassic World films, I think every actor chosen for their part did good with what they were given with. And I will say this, Ty Simpkins, I've seen him in a few things, mainly the Insidious films and Iron Man 3, but I will say this, he's a good actor, and I'm glad he got to be in a Jurassic Park film.
Yeah.
But it's a shame he's been given the role he is. And again, the actor who's plays Zach, he was recently in Love, Simon, I think, or something, and he was good in that too. But when it boils down to it, the characters are just idiots, or badly written, or overall just pointless. And they're just there to fill the quota for the dinosaur movie. And it's such a shame.
It's quite satisfying to see him get chomped down on, though.
I wish Zack got chomped down. That actually would have made sense for the story for Zack to cry.
Yeah.
Yeah, he gets attacked by the Indominus Rex or another dinosaur during the breakout, and maybe that could have been the moment where Zack cries.
Yeah.
Makes more sense than him just crying out of nowhere on the train. Another thing, going back to Zack hitting on girls, how did that? I don't know why this bothered me, but how do you feel about that? Because I asked someone once, why do you think that scene bothers you, or those scenes bother you? And they said, it didn't bother me because I just kind of assumed that's how all teenagers are, and
that's why
I kind of got upset about that.
Yeah. No one.
It's
like, sure, like it can happen, of course, but like.
Yeah, it's not alien.
It's
for
the fact
guys
that
to
like,
hit on girls,
but it's still like the fact that they made him so stereotypical of the douche because like he had a girlfriend at the time as well.
Yeah.
And it's like I'm just teen boy, doing teen boy stuff. Yeah, teen boys. Yeah, we're little teeny boys. And it's
I feel like
and they just make them so stereotypical where it's like they're all assholes. Don't worry, there's no good ones.
Yeah, I feel like the fact that it's focused on so much in the film, and again adding to the overall pointlessness, I just feel like it's frustrating to all the good guys out there who are not oogling girls, who have girlfriends and boyfriends who they come committed to. It's just pointlessly frustrating.
It's just kind of frustrating that they made his character so stereotypical of I guess what could be considered a teenage boy. But...
Yeah, he's not the worst, I guess. But when it comes to it, there are much worse. But when it comes to it, it's just pointlessly annoying, and it's just.
I didn't think it needed to be his character. I don't know, because from him doing that, only negative responses can occur. I'm not sure. I have yet to meet a person which is like that. Just added to his character because I like him more. It's like makes me like him more as a character. It's like no.
So you're okay with your boyfriend oogling girls? God. Yeah, adding to the.
It's just it frustrates me a little just because it's like, for some reason they writ that in as his character, but it doesn't need to be even slightly part of his character because all it does is make you kind of negative against him.
Again, it feels
why
like
would
the writers
would hate him a bit?
Yeah, it feels like the writers were just looking through the textbook of, what can you expect from the teenager, the love interest, the main guy.
Let's make everyone make sure that he's a teenager, yeah.
Yeah, and they just, frankly, they don't have him going around saying quips or millennial stuff, but it just feels like they're ticking a box and not giving them focused on characters. It's just, it's just focused on the dinosaur aspect. And at points it works. Because I will admit, there's a guilty pleasure for me in seeing a T-Rex fight the dinosaur and having a raptor fight alongside it, because that is a fun scene to watch. But when you think about it, it's the overall film is just characters reacting to their stupid decisions, and the subplot with the Indominus Rex and being a genetically created hybrid. It's kind of stupid. It's kind of entertaining because again the concept is something new to what we've seen in Jurassic Park before.
Sorry, I've just had a thought.
Yeah.
They are trying to make his character a very typical bad boy type of teen. That's what it is. Not just a stereotypical teenage boy. It's just that he's trying to be like a bit more of a bad kid. Like doesn't really care for his brother too much at the beginning, or like obviously he might care deep down, but he doesn't like show it, like because he's a teenage boy. But but it's the fact that like even during the scene when they're in the gyrospheres, and they're like going around looking at the dinosaurs, and then they see that kind of like employees only gate open or something like that, and it's like don't cross here if you're not authorized, and he's like, do you want the full Jurassic experience? And it's like, God damn it, dude, don't do it. And it's like he's so obviously so like trying to make him like, oh, he's so bad. He doesn't do it for like
but he doesn't do it with negative intent. It's clear he's just trying to cheer his brother up, understandably. But at the same time, you kind of feel like, shouldn't this experience on a dinosaur island be enough?
Wait, you'd
have to break laws to get your jollies off.
Yeah, like also like, why is that area fenced off if it's got Ankylosaurus in it like that?
Yeah,
because they're just herbivores. Like.
Another plot hole, I guess. How are these things not CCTV watched or guarded more securely, especially when you establish that you have security cameras all over the park.
Exactly. You would have thought, like, and you wouldn't leave the fucking gate open.
Yeah, or the fact that you wouldn't have the gyrospheres not on a railroad to keep them from having passengers take them into random places where they can get attacked.
Oh, it's all good stuff. I guess they didn't have the ankylosauruses next to the gyrospheres because they could crack the glass with like how powerful their swings were. It's still a bit like, his character is so annoying. He pisses me off.
Yeah. I guess moving on from the Zack.
Yeah, continue with your
we can say this. All the characters have problems. I think that mainly comes down to just the bad writing.
I mean, that scene in general really showed like how smart the Indominus Rex was as well, which I quite liked. So it was a worthwhile scene because they knew to flip over the Ankylosaurus because it's not armored underneath.
Yeah, that seems good. This film has some moments which are enjoyable, which is why people can kind of give this film a bit of a pass.
Yeah.
This film does feel like a movie where you have to turn your brain off at bits to enjoy the full experience. But if you're going into this film expecting, again, character motivations, experiences, and
you've come
expanding
to the wrong
universe, I guess,
neighborhood
of the Jurassic Park franchise, you're not going to get it.
Yeah.
It's just a popcorn movie at its heart. And you could say that the writers might have known this, because again, when you actually think about it, this film does kind of follow the same footsteps as the sequel trilogy of Star Wars, where the first film has got to reintroduce the audience to the series because there was like such a long gap between the last movie made.
Yeah.
And it's kind of in the same ball as well, because when you think about it, Force Awakens has problems, but people marginally accept it because it was entertaining and it felt a bit like Star Wars, more so than others, and some people still hate it. But the point of it is that it was a good film that reintroduced the series, and I kind of feel that this film does the same, where it has a lot more problems with the characters and the motivations and the logic at points, but the fact that we get to see dinosaurs again, and we get to see things like a fully functional park, we get to see new stuff like the hybrids and all that, those bits make it lastable and watchable. But at the same time, in the long run, I feel like this film will be regarded as like second best, or maybe even third best, depending on your views on the film series overall, because the first film is just so memorable and
I would probably say it does reach a good second best. Just because, to be honest, the second and third Jurassic Park movies don't really hold up too well, but compared to like Jurassic World, with it's showing off its new technology, I mean, the Motosaurus was like so cool. I've wanted to see one for so long. They are, just to see it that kind of size when they kind of go down in the entertainment section when they're watching it. And they go down and they look at it from under the water. Oh, that was so cool. And I wanted to see it so much more. And when it ate the assistant, I was losing my shit. I was like, that was the coolest thing I've ever seen. They made everything very, very kind of wow factor. But I don't hate them for it. It's like, that was so cool. More Motosaurus, please. And then they gave us some of the next film. A little nod to it. It was a little bit, but it was something I wanted to see. Absolutely amazing. We'll get to that a bit later, but yeah.
I guess when it comes down to it, closing off with Jurassic World, overall it's an enjoyable popcorn film, and it's definitely something that is worth seeing with the Jurassic Park name on it.
It's definitely a good sit back and enjoy film. Definitely.
Yeah, it's one of those films that you feel like you can just sit down on one Saturday evening and just enjoy for the fun factor it has.
Yeah. But
at the same time, just feel like it's not going to be a well-remembered film in those regards.
Yeah.
And I feel like it will be someone's second, third, or like even fourth best out of the series overall.
My second best. Not gonna lie. Just because of the wow factor. But other than that, not really up there for any... Can never beat the first. Not even come close. Not with a 10-foot pole.
Yeah. And do you have anything else to say about the film?
No, I think that pretty much sums it up. Except I absolutely love the Velociraptor Blue. I really like that Velociraptor.
I guess talking about Blue for a bit, maybe I can kind of see where they're going, but I will talk about this more when we get to Fallen Kingdom. But
yeah,
it does. They definitely felt like pushing again, the pet sidekick in this one. And I can understand, and I will admit, her scenes in this movie are cool, especially the scene with the motorbike. I think that's become the most memorable thing out of the sequel trilogy so far.
That was very cool, yeah.
Yeah, the concept of riding motorbikes alongside velociraptors. And when you think that
it's one of the most badass things you can think of, and he does it, and
yeah, it's fulfilling fans of Lost World who were going to have that be in the film in the original ending, but they didn't because Spielberg wanted the dinosaur to be in the mainland. I guess that's a good thing to enjoy about it, but again, going into the long run, I feel like that's the only memorable scene that I can say about this film.
Yeah.
So yeah, we can now go into Fallen Kingdom.
Woohoo!
Oh boy!
In for a real treat now.
Oh yeah, getting all the rage out. But again, at the same time, I am kind of glad that I'm kind of exhausted, so I won't be screaming my lungs off, hopefully. But honestly, fuck this movie.
Did you hate it that much?
Oh, I loathe this movie. God damn it!
Tell me that.
Okay,
Tell me your story.
Okay. Off the bat, I will say this. I will say that this one good thing about it. The opening scene to this movie is cool. Again, as you said, seeing the Mosasaurus again is a cool way to reintroduce us to the dinosaurs.
That was so cool. It dragged out for a bit too long. I think they should have just got eaten by the submarine. By the Mosasaurus should have ate the submarine. And then that was it. They didn't see it again. Didn't jump up and then That was quite a funny scene where he was hanging off the ladder and he's like, "Hey, I got away," and then the Mosasaurus just like, "Nope."
Yeah, that's a good scene, and then it's followed by an even cooler scene, which is something that I've been looking forward to in a Jurassic Park sequel for ages. We finally got Jeff Goldblum back playing Ian Malcolm,
yeah,
and he literally spells out why we need to let these things die, and the most logical path, because whichever way you try to twist it, these things are man-made creatures recreated from things long dead. We've learned multiple times that we cannot control them, and we need to leave them to their own devices. As John Hammond once said, leave them be so they can endure their own existence.
Yeah.
And when we finally find out this volcano, which has never been brought up in any of the previous films, it suddenly starts to erupt, we come to the decision that we need to let them die on the island because they're too dangerous. They're a threat to humanity if they ever get to the mainland, so we should just let nature take its course. In logical sense. So we need to let them be and endure their fates.
But I love that
scene is perfect.
I love that it sparks up kind of the arguments for real life animal rights. If we did bring back the dodo, for example, would we give it the same animal rights because it's extinct?
Yeah, but a dodo is not going to try and eat you. There's a very big difference in that. There's a very big line between that.
There's a big threat difference, definitely. I don't know. The dodos might have been absolutely evil. Who knows? But I
don't think they were.
No, they got killed pretty quickly just by letting people pick them up. But
then again, if Primeval's taught me anything, they could be.
But yeah, Ice Age showed us differently from ninjas.
Yeah, but here's where the film falls flat on its face, though. That scene and the opening to it. The opening, whatever you could say, some people can hate it, some people can love it, but I enjoyed it. But the scene with Ian Malcolm is perfect. It's what you kind of want. What I would want it, at least.
Yeah.
And we are followed up by that scene with our main protagonists. And where are they now? Oh, Claire, who had no experience so far or character motivation to become an activist, is now leading an activist group comprised of millennials.
I feel like she did kind of have a reason to change, but not that drastically.
Yeah,
I guess she feels responsible, and that's why she's kind of doing it. But they didn't touch on that. They were just like, "Oh, she's just an activist now."
Yeah, and the main problem I think that this film holds is its message on trying to push animal rights in that order, and that just falls flat on its face because again, it's trying to say, "Oh, we need these things to survive for your children to see. We don't want them to grow up in a world with dinosaurs."
Nah, bro, just read a book.
Yeah, god damn it, we've done that in our lifetime.
Yeah, teach little Timmy to read. He can see what a T-Rex looked like from a goddamn textbook. You don't want him face to face with 200 teeth looking straight back at him. Little Timmy ain't gonna be a happy bunny after that.
Yeah, the main problem is that this film establishes why we shouldn't let these things survive, And then it immediately follows up with, oh, we need them to survive because for our kids to see. And they're following these characters for the rest of the movie. So it's like, what message were you trying to set up then? And then it goes on to set up some other messages too, later in the film when we meet John Lockwood, or whatever his name is. The partner that, again, John Hammond apparently had, but we never brought up. Again, and he says, oh, he pretty much repeats what he said from Lost World. Oh, these creatures need our absence.
Yeah.
So you're sending people in to interfere with them, even though you want them to be left in absence.
Sure.
Again,
do what you want, dude. It's cool. You have enough money to do so.
I get it. Animal activists, they have their reasons for existing. But in this case with the dinosaurs, I'm picking the logical side here. These things are dangerous monsters, and they're threats to humanity. And in the long run, as I guess we find out, they're going to be a danger to the world, and they're going to retake what was once theirs, as Ian Malcolm explains in the film. But then we're meant to follow up with, oh, we need to save them because look how cute Blue is, and look how cute these creatures are, and how bad they're being mistreated by man.
By the big man.
Yeah, it's just goddamn stupid.
There is a lot of stupid scenes in that film.
That is giving them easy. This film then introduces us to the new characters introduced in this film, and I think the writers really felt like patting themselves on the back with these ones, because they talked about a lot in interviews saying that these characters are very important and they'll be going forward into the next film with vital roles. And who are they? We've got the bloody millennial web internet guy and the...
Nice.
I guess...
I did like his character, though, because he was the only one who was like, dude, there's fucking dinosaurs, what are you doing? He doesn't want to be there. He's terrified of dinosaurs. Does he get killed?
I wish he was killed.
Aww.
I hate his character.
No, I quite like his character. He's the only one with fucking, like, head on his shoulders. Like,
No.
he is a bit, like, he's a bit too afraid of everything.
Are you kidding me? Every scene he's in, they're playing up the fact that he's a sensitive guy who just is scared of everything. And
He just wants to
goddammit,
sit
I
in his
get it.
computer, dude.
No, I get it. There are characters out there that are scared.
Bro, I could relate.
There's an extent of character to them. This guy has none of that. Again, character motivation, character interactions. He's just there because, oh, scary dinosaurs. Oh, is it the T-Rex? Is it the T-Rex? God damn it, we know it's not the bloody T-Rex, but you have to keep bringing it up.
Well,
And then
to
the
be
fact
fair,
that
he's the
he's-
only relatable character in this film. And
He's
that's
not
why I like
relatable.
him.
I'm
I
sorry,
would be like that. Excuse me? I would be
Again.
exactly like that. Like, I would just be like, dude, is that the T-Rex? Let's get out of here. Is that the T-Rex? Dude, I don't know about you, but I ain't come face to face with no T-Rex like that.
But I
I
hated
cried
his
when
character.
when I faced the one at the Natural History Museum. The big animatronic thing scared the crap out of me as a kid.
Yeah, as a kid, but this guy is, I think the actor who plays him is 21, so I guess.
Yeah, but he's facing real
Good for him.
T-Rex.
Yeah, but god damn it, this is a world that's endured with dinosaurs for 24 years at this point, I think, unless it's 22. I guess it really depends on what year this is set, but god damn it, I'm not caring about that right now.
To be fair,
But-
though, couldn't they have found a better candidate?
No, I feel like they did. The guy from the Jurassic World, he was the tech guy in the park, and they even bring this up. But I think one of the writers said that they didn't want to use him because reasons. I guess again, I can't remember the reason, but that door was open. But no, we're introduced to this character who's off the bat just he's the internet guy, and his last name's Webb.
I didn't think I. Do you get my internet joke there, like world? We're hip, we're cool. Universal Studios, you know, your boy.
Yeah. Again, I guess it boils down to personal preference with how you enjoy characters, and there's room for characters that are meant to be funny and give us humour. But I feel like he's the actor. God bless the actor. He's our age, I think. So has talent. I think he was in another series on Netflix where he really did show his chops, and he's also going to be in that new Detective Pikachu movie.
Yeah.
But
He's
for me
I like
personally-
his acting. I like him as an actor. He's really, really good.
yeah, but for me personally,
But his
in this
character
film,
was-
he was given the worst character of all of them. He's just there for the sake of being funny.
Personally,
and
that
that one
was-
scene with the tech.
Like
And that's
Owen
it.
Owen Brandy was my favorite before, but then they just made him a depressy, sulky bitch in this one. Like at first he was like, yeah, velociraptors, and now in this film he's like, oh, I miss you, Claire. he does funny bits where it's just like they're kind of sitting, they're chilling, they're talking, and then at one point he'll be like, oh god, your hair smells so good, and then she's like, what? And he's like, oh, what
seems creepy.
What are you talking about? So I kind of like that because it was like comical, but like they changed his character so drastically, and I hate it.
That's the problem with me with this film. It's over reliance on poor comedy, and god damn it, the Claire and Owen subplot again. Why break them up?
Yeah, like it's so similar to the first one.
No, like... it's repeated, it's recycled. That's what it is.
Yeah.
You kind of get the sense that Hollywood doesn't know any good romances, any romantic tropes that go with characters outside of they break up and break up again because they need to get back together.
And then they're joined together by tragedy. It's like,
oh god.
And trauma brings them closer together. It's like, then why do they keep breaking up?
You know what would have been interesting if they were still together and then they had some nice moments maybe in Owen's trailer, and they could just talk about their feelings.
I don't want to see any of their nice moments in the trailer.
No, that's the thing. It's more interesting to see these characters interact and make conversation for why they should or shouldn't do it. But no, instead, we're pro-dinosaurs, we've got to save them. No, I'm sulky because I lost my friend who was a velociraptor. But no, I'm coming with you because I watched some videos.
I did like those videos. It was so cute.
But then that's the thing. That's the other problem with this movie. It's over reliance on the dinosaurs. It's pretty much trying to say that they're the mascots now, and I think that's the main thing.
That is the point of the movie, though.
No, but that's the thing. That's what it shouldn't. Okay, I'll say this: it was a no-brainer from day one that the dinosaurs would be the main draw for a Jurassic Park film. But I've always stood by with the idea that, again, as I've reiterated so much in this video, the characters are what make films last. It's what makes people go back to rewatch them and enjoy them because, again, we relate to these characters. Every sequel thus far, and especially it's evident in Fallen Kingdom, the characters are very paper-thin, to very boring, to very cliched, to very stupid.
But the problem is they'll never explore anything further than that because they're too afraid to explore new concept in an already established
But that's the
universe.
Thing, they could, and it's just why they should. Why do you think they would make it... What's the point of making another Jurassic Park trilogy if you're not going to try something different? That's what frustrates me the most. This trilogy, this Jurassic World trilogy, had the potential to do what the original trilogy failed to do. Or at least failed to continue to do, which was create characters that are memorable, or maybe characters that we've grown to like, and expand on them. I'll touch on this a bit more when we get to our what we hope and what we would have wanted in the end of the video. But when it boils down to it, the filmmakers clearly just wanted to make a cheap by the numbers expected popcorn movie so that they could get to the main message at the end of the film, which sets up the final film.
Everything, and it's all the kind of like newy kind of like series films, the kind of like the ones that continue old universes like the Star Wars ones, the Jurassic Worlds, they all kind of feel like they're going way too much for the wow. They get like, look at all the upgrades that we got since the time we made that movie, or like, look how we can make this such like a big spectacle, and then they just forget about what the story was actually.
Yeah. Again, this actually kind of fall again into the Star Wars trap with Last Jedi, where they clearly didn't have a plan, so they just gave it to a guy and set him to wing it, and we ended up getting a film that in the case of Jurassic Park, no one liked. But sad to say, there were bloody idiots who liked this film. There is a specific YouTuber who admits he gushes about it, and I won't name him because again, theirs, and I will admit, people can like what they like. And again, as you said, you like whatever the nerd's character's name is, and I can respect that because again, you can enjoy the film for that regard. But for me personally, it's all about character. It's all about reasoning. It's all about building off what came before. And I feel like this film misses the mark so much with that.
Can I talk about what I think makes this movie great?
Sure.
Or like it's not by any means a great movie. Let's forget I said that. More of it's definitely enjoyable films, but like scenes that I absolutely really loved. Ones that tugged on human empathy. Ones that actually really played with your emotions and this, like, makes you feel empathy for these animals. Because they might be extinct, but at the end of the day, they're still like a living, breathing organism. Do we treat them with the same respect that we do normal animals, or do we carry over that human empathy of like feeling sympathy for this animal? And that especially hits me when they're flying away. They got as many animals as they could, and then you see the Brachiosaurus walking, trying to catch up with the boat, like fucking Noah's Ark type shit, where all the fucking lava comes down. And then you just see this Brachiosaurus die, and that really, really tugged on my heartstrings, because I felt genuine sympathy for that animal. Even though it's extinct, it was like, if that was real life, if you did transfer that to real life, that would be a real, like, living, breathing animal. So you would feel empathy for when something like that dies, even though they're heartless, cold-blooded lizards.
And that is fair. And I will admit, that scene was moving for me in a bit, because again, it's again,
you felt sad, didn't you? You felt sad for that Brachiosaurus.
Yeah.
And don't lie, you definitely did. Everyone did.
Oh yeah, that is definitely one of the highlights of this film, at least. The fact that it's the same Brachiosaurus from the original film adds to those pains of tugging at the heartstrings. Yeah, the writer came out saying that, oh, that is the same one that Alan Grant and Ellie look at in the first film.
But what?
Yeah.
That would have been a really nice little Easter egg if they did that. Like, say if they were going over the captured dinosaurs in like a book, and they were like, oh, that's one from the very first Jurassic Park that was ever built up. That one's a very old one. We need to be gentle with that one. Something like that. Just a little nod to that. And then at the end they'll be like, oh, that was the old one. Or something like that, just to show that it was that. That would have been even more tear-jerking. That would have been like enough to be like, oh no, that's so sad. But
also,
they didn't play off
that. Let me say this though, mate.
Still good.
Let me say this though. This is where I disagree on parts of this, and this is mainly when it comes. I think again, I'm not thinking off the top of my head here, so I can't think of the scientific saying. But put it this way: it tugs on our heartstrings for animals in general. But say you've got 3 people that you know, one person you may know, and the other 2 are strangers, and they are in the position of being put to death, and you've got a dog. And again, we are both dog lovers.
Save the dog. I don't care about the other people.
Really?
Yeah, I would save the dog.
Would you honestly put another human being's life in jeopardy for the sake of saving a dog?
I don't care about human beings, honestly. To be honest, like, human beings are assholes. Dogs are nothing but good and happiness. Even though they live a lot less, I don't consider like a human's life over that of an animal's just because they're more intelligent. It's like, it's not like... Shut up.
It's understandable, and I won't deny it. We are cold-blooded monsters at points.
I mean, like, I would jump in the water if I saw a dog drowning just to try and save its life. Like, even though that would put my life at risk, and everyone would be like, no, your parents will tell you, no, don't ever do that, or something like that.
Sure, that bit's understandable. But in my opinion, when it comes to the necessity of human life over an animal's,
I guess if it's someone you have like a connection to, say if it was like your
but even
in
the case of if it wasn't a family member or a friend of mine, the human is who I'm going to save. And again, this is going into that territory of, oh, who would you save, that kind of thing, and everyone's going to have an opinion on this, and I'm possibly going to get some hate from this.
It's a very tough opinion to make, definitely.
Yeah, but I feel like this film doesn't balance that line with this. It's trying to make us say that, oh, we need to sympathise with these animals because humans are bad, but it doesn't balance it out.
I guess the reason they exist was the fault of humans and everything, but the fact that they do exist and it's out of some people's control, like say, I wasn't involved in creating them, so I can still feel sympathy for that like animal dying, because it's a living, breathing animal that's come to life. It's still a thing that exists. But
it doesn't justify the fact that their actions are going to end up killing a lot of little kids, a lot of people, a lot of humans. Yeah. Because when it comes down to it, this film is basically about trying to save the dinosaurs, but it overall ends up with them saving them and dooming humanity.
And then auctioning them. And then dooming humanity. We talk about the Indoraptor in a bit.
Yeah, we'll get to that. But I just wanted to lay some points out. How I feel about this film is that it feels like a B movie with some promising ideas, but it's overall overshadowed by the bad ones. The fact that the characters do stupid things and are written poorly, and just given tropes and character ideologies that are very weak, and hoping that the audience will buy into them based off the actor's charisma or just their acting in general. Chris Pratt, he doesn't go through an arc in this film outside of the thought of, oh, will he or won't he go to save Blue? But again, it's not really compelling because it's kind of expected. Clara, again, her character development comes out of nowhere from the last film, and again, she has a kind of moment near the end of the film where she considers not to let the dinosaurs survive, and that is good. But because they don't go through with that, it doesn't really feel earned. It doesn't actually feel worth exploring now, because again, it's just they're out there now, so your overall dilemma is sorted out.
Can I ask you something?
Sure.
When Blue appeared and we saw Owen was reunited with Blue, Blue had little babies as well, didn't she?
No, she didn't. She had her pack mates, but they were killed all in the first film.
I swear there was babies involved in that scene.
No, it's you're thinking of the video camera scenes where she's with her siblings when they were young, but it does boil down to when it comes to the Indoraptor, was it? Yeah, the Indoraptor. That was kind of meant to be sort of a surrogate son to her, and I think another YouTuber brought this up. It would have been interesting if they tried to maybe explore that mother-son dynamic with the raptors, because again, they kind of bring up in the film that she's meant to be a surrogate mother to it, and again, another YouTuber brought this up. It would be great if there were scenes where the Indoraptor and Blue were fighting, where they might have tried to not fight each other, or maybe tried to communicate with each other, but then when it comes to saving her owner over this creature, she would rather protect her owner, the one who looked after her all these years. That would be interesting. But no, her scenes pretty much boil down to
that's what
she's
we
there
got
to
in
fight
the
the
first Jurassic
Indoraptor.
World, wasn't it?
Sorry?
We got that in the first Jurassic World already, where like Blue was like, I'm not taking this. Like, I'll fuck you up.
Yeah, but there's no interaction or development between her or the Indominus in that film. It's just like, oh, you're a creature, you're a dinosaur like me. Let's work together. Because that was just throwing off basic instinct. This film could have explored that more, I think, especially when they introduce in the film the mother dynamic there, but they don't. The main problem this film has, it's trying to put focus too much on the dinosaurs and just not giving a care about the characters at all. While there was some likability in points with the characters in the first film, you could overall enjoy it because it was fun to see them back for the first time after so many years. With this film, it's the sequel, it's the follow-up. You expect them to learn from their mistakes and build off that. At the very least, work with what they've got and make it better. No, but again, going into the Last Jedi solution, it's just, oh, you like these characters? That's what we rely on. You like them, and they're surrounded by dinosaurs. That's it. Again, this film is just made because of the dinosaurs, and this is shown no evident more when you see the T-Rex. She has two.
From my perspective, that's a pretty good reason to make a movie because of dinosaurs, but...
Yeah, but it's more interesting if the characters and the story and why they're doing what they do is interesting and relatable and makes sense for the story.
I guess, like, they will never match the first Jurassic Park's kind of, like, writing.
No, but they could try. That's what my main gripe
they
with this
didn't try in that regard. They did try to make it a bit more spectacular, which I do appreciate, but they only did that slightly better than the first one, and even the first one handled the scenes way better than Jurassic World did. Jurassic World was just like, big violent dinosaurs, rather than kind of scary scenes. I mean, Fallen Kingdom did that quite well when the Indoraptor got loose. That was quite scary when she was chasing the kid, but how does the little girl survive this? But like grown adults,
yeah, because the screenwriters said they have to.
It's like, goddamn, I don't understand this. She didn't need to be in that bit. They were trying to make that a bit too much like the first Jurassic Park.
Yeah, this film is plagued with callbacks, and that is a bad sign there when you know the film is trying to rely on callbacks, but really it's there because they're probably trying to pad out the runtime or something. It's weak. It's a weak script, really, because again, you think that for a story about dinosaurs, maybe loose on a mansion, which is again by itself a stupid idea, because again, it's trying to go for that gothic horror enclosed space scenario, which is interesting, but you think, why couldn't they have just done that on the ship? Because that would have made more logical sense. They were on the ship, but what if they got out? I actually think one of the early drafts they did for Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom was to have it be primarily set on the ship, and it was going to end with them getting off onto the mainland.
That would have been much better.
Yeah, it was. But this film, we bring them to the mansion, which has no logical sense, because how would the owner even not know that they were there?
And he paid so much for those, like, cages to, like, roll out of this, like, smoky room. It was like...
Yeah.
He literally paid so much just so he could spend more money on dinosaurs. It doesn't make sense.
Yeah. Yeah, and, okay, getting back to the characters, sorry. The villains in this... God damn it.
I love when the fucking hunter guy dies, where it's just like, oh yeah, dinosaur teeth. And, like, he goes in and he's like... You kind of just see how smart the Indoraptor is there. That's the one bit I did quite appreciate from the movie, was how kind of smart they did show it. But it's kind of like a weird kind of smart, to the point where it can, like, play with its prey just fine because it wants to make its prey scared. That shows a higher thinking, and it's like, that is quite terrifying when it's doing it more for entertainment than it is for food. But it's still the fact that, like, that scene was so dumb. But I liked the kind of when the Indoraptor was looking at his face when he was down on the floor, he tripped her up. He's about to, like, the Indoraptor's about to eat the shit out of this guy. But you can see kind of like how scared he is. Like, that bit was quite good acting. I liked that bit just because he can't do anything. He was drooling. He was just like, I can't, if I stay still maybe it will forget. I don't know, like, it shows the desperation in that scene, and that's the thing I liked about the scene. But by God, was I so happy when he got 8. I hate that character.
I was going to say this, I was going to say you're giving this film too much leeway for stupidity, but I'm glad you admit that, yeah, it's stupid, because God damn it,
That's the reason I like it, because I like stupid shit sometimes. But, like, it was so dumb.
I get it. The concept of a velociraptor, of a dinosaur learning to smile and toy with its prey. Interesting.
I forgot it.
God damn it! It's played for laughs.
I forgot it smiled.
Yeah.
Never mind.
Yeah. But yeah. Sorry. Getting back to the characters again. The villains in this are straight from a cartoon.
Yeah.
And I will say this: the villain from Jurassic World, who was played by Vincent D'Onofrio, kind of give him a pass because he's also kind of, his motivation is the same. They want to weaponize the dinosaurs. That of itself is stupid, but I can kind of give it a leeway because it's the first film that kind of introduces this concept, and he's played by Vincent D'Onofrio, so there's that leeway to it. But again, because it's kind of discarded so quickly, you kind of forget about it. With this film, you would think they would learn. But no, we want to weaponize the dinosaurs again, and from straight off, he's the bad guy because he's rich, he wants more money.
They make another dinosaur again. This time with a failsafe, to be fair, the red laser.
Which is, again, stupid because they have a gun, so why not just shoot it? You have guns, and you're just pointing the gun. You're going to be wasting thousands of dollars in military warfare to have these creatures attack them. That is such a good point.
I didn't think about that. Like... Oh my God, no way. I didn't even think about that. Like, it's like aiming a gun at someone. It's like, I'm gonna kill you. Get him, Velociraptor. It's like,
how should I have brought it up? And
God
damn it! Man. Again, it's
pretty dumb. But I guess it is pretty cool as well, because I don't know how the laser works. I don't know if it has to, like, hit a target for it to kill, or if you point it in an area and it will kill anything in that area, like, longer distance. That would be fine, because then you could just point it, say, like, if you're, like, in the army and, like, you're under fire and you're pinned down somewhere, you just target the lasers somewhere where they're hiding, and then that will go hunt it out and just eat them all.
But again, it boils down to it, why don't you just use the gun? Because again, the concept of dinosaurs using it warfare is interesting and cool, but in the
when they
logical
just get
sense,
shot really quick.
Exactly, you're wasting thousands of dollars to buy these things, to breed them, or maybe down the line, whatever, to put them into warfare. They're going to be killed fast by gunfire. When, I don't know, you could have just used guns. It's just, again, stupid.
It is pretty dumb.
The fact that it's the focal center of this trilogy so far it just mind boggles why you couldn't have just thought of something different or something better or executed it better.
It is a cool looking dinosaur though, the Indoraptor.
It's a cool looking dinosaur, but that's it. It looks cool. It's kind of how they use the dinosaurs from the beginning. They're dinosaurs because they look cool, but that's it. And again, sorry, I'm finally getting to the characters. Again, the villains are cliched, money grabbing bad guys, not very compelling there. And the fact that again, the guy played by Buffalo Bill or something, I don't know.
Buffalo Bill. Is that
he
his
was
name?
that guy. No, but I think the bad guy from Silence of the Lambs was called Buffalo Bill or something.
I wish that
the same
was his
actor
name.
played him.
I would love that to be his name.
He's. You kind of like for a few seconds, I thought he was going to be kind of like Roland from The Lost World, where he's this mysterious character who doesn't take sides. He's just there because of his own interests, but he's clearly following logic. But no, he's straight away a bad guy because I want my bonus, I want my money.
I want my bonus.
Yeah,
I'm Buffalo Bill.
Yeah, and bring up another scene. That scene where he and his team have to capture Blue. When you think about it, at this point he hasn't revealed himself to be a bad guy. So when Chris Pratt is charging him, when one of his men accidentally shot the Velociraptor early, and he ends up shooting her in self-defense, it actually makes logical sense for him to tranquilize him in defense. Because when you think about it, this guy was defending himself from being mauled to death by a Velociraptor. But oh no, the film portrays this as, oh, he's a bad guy because we've got to hate him now.
I guess so, but it is the fact
True,
that he's like...
but at the same time...
He has a different reason for being there. I think that's what made him the villain, not the fact that he made that choice. I didn't think he was the villain for making that choice. I thought he was maybe a bit of a douche, because he didn't necessarily need to do that. Like, Owen had it under control. He didn't need to tell his men to fire, but he did.
No, but he didn't specifically tell them to fire. You can
That was what was implied, though.
No, because this scene plays out as any rookie could have a mistake any rookie could have done, and in that guy's defense, he tries to defend himself when the raptor actually attacks him, or it's another guy. But the point is, the guy tries to defend himself, and he ends up shooting the Velociraptor by mistake or in defense, which anyone would do in that position. And
did they show that it was a rookie that did it by accident?
Again, they don't elaborate on it. Again, it's framed...
I think it was him commanding his men to do so, because they were just going to take him away anyway, it doesn't matter. And they didn't care what the activists think. In fact, they left them for dead after that bit, didn't they?
Again, which adds to making no sense, because these guys hired them to help them bring these animals in. So, again, I just feel like it's played out in a way that's meant to try and make us hate these guys from the get-go. But at the same time, logic-wise, it makes sense for them to defend themselves, and it's only when Chris is charging at them and they tranquilize him in defense, and the girl pulls a gun on them, that they realize that, oh, these guys are bad guys from the beginning. But you can kind of understand up to that point where they were coming from, and they weren't bad guys; they were just protecting themselves. But again,
they were also trying to capture the dinosaur to sell it.
Oh yeah, that was still happening. But at that point, anyone, again, it's what they're bloody there for, which is stupid to begin with. But okay, and then talking about those bloody activists, the bloody millennial characters. Again, no hate for activists and millennials. You do you.
All the hate for millennials, goddamn millennials.
I just wish Hollywood would not try and put people into categories when it comes to these kind of things. Because again, the
they
girl
always will.
The girl veterinarian, she's just there to save Blue in that one scene. And
thank God she was,
it.
otherwise Blue would have died though.
Yeah,
we don't want that. But now she's alive, eating people.
Yeah, yeah. Again,
so she contributed to like killing more people.
Yeah, that's the thing. All these characters contributed to the world being taken over by dinosaurs. So I don't know how this can be happy for them in the long run.
It's kind of like it was kind of implied that these guys were the good guys, but they're doing something inherently quite bad. Which
exactly,
is like...
that's the main thing. That's why I agree with Jeff Goldblum so much, because he knows these creatures are bloody dangerous.
Oh, and the scene where Claire had to like either let all the dinosaurs get gassed or open up the thing, and she was like, I don't know, and then she decides like, I'll let them die, and then the kid's like, nope, just pushes the button. It's like, they would have done. What did she say? They would have done it for me, or something fucking stupid like that.
what again? Getting onto the kid actually. God damn it!
We haven't talked about this little shit enough.
Yeah. Okay, I'll say this: the child actor, for what she's given with, she's an okay-ish actress.
Not saying she's a bad actress or anything. She's definitely
not
a good actress. Her character is awful.
Yeah, she again. Her first scenes. I mean, that scene where she basically jump scares her grandmother or whoever that old lady is playing. Again, pointless jump scare. God damn it, Hollywood.
I mean, those are in every movie, though. You're always going to have
could you
pointless
have
jump
done it
scares.
in a scene that didn't involve literally the expectations of the audience going, "Oh, we know a little girl is going to come jumping out roaring," because it's a bloody
true.
dinosaur movie.
I
Of
mean,
course,
it
there's going
wasn't
to be a
a-
dinosaur in the mansion.
It wasn't a good jump scare, wasn't it? No.
It didn't need to be in the bloody movie. But yeah, going to the girl overall, we reveal in the film that she's a clone. And again, this is tied to the goddamn Blackwood character that we never knew until this film.
It's
So,
very, very bizarre kind of like setup for a plot twist that doesn't need to exist.
Yeah,
But
the main problem
sure.
with the plot twist, in my opinion, is that it doesn't factor into any of the other characters' motivations or their own plots. Again, as stupid as the plot overall is, it would make sense to have these things intertwined. And this film, this is literally brought up out of nowhere. The bad guy, literally comes in pointing guns at them, and you think it would make logical sense for him to kill them. But no, you step away from Maisie. Why? Because she's not what you know. She's a clone.
Let me just reveal my secrets.
Yeah, and the moment he starts talking about her, or in the the conversation literally ends with them being attacked by a dinosaur. Oh, the scene's got to end now. Bring the dinosaurs.
Wow, it's a beautiful movie.
I applaud the writers for trying to kind of get the series in a different direction, but it could have been executed so much better, because the scenes amount to nothing. The little girl, again, her scenes are kind of setting up that she's meant to be this kind of very fought, on her feet kind of girl, but then again, stupid writing. She has to hide under the bed covers so the writer could just make a nod to the dragon and the princess.
I do like. I absolutely love listening to you get mad at films. It's so entertaining.
God damn it! I hate this movie. But yeah.
Right, should we wrap this bit up then?
Okay. So yeah, I'll say. Okay, I'll say this. The first three films, they're not perfect. The first one is a classic, but it has its problems. But
far from as many problems as the other films do. So in consideration, that's a really good film.
Yeah, but Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom feels like the movie that was just made because they didn't know what to do with it. It felt like they wanted to get to the main story of the world run over by dinosaurs, literally the Jurassic World. So they just moved the main story aside for some other writers to do. And when they couldn't meet the deadline, quick, let's throw some nonsensical plots together with some very cliched characters and motivations so we can get to this cool stuff that we really want to do. And we need something new, something different that will make it memorable. Throw in a clone subplot.
Yeah, they did add like a very weird kind of way to, like, a hastily written filler to get to the actual Jurassic World.
Yeah, and it
that
doesn't.
They want to get to.
It tries to retcon things that don't make sense. It ignores continuity and setups that were made up in the earlier films for the sake of its scenes. Like again, the Indoraptor, it can't smell the fact that they're hiding literally under its nose.
Yeah, that was
On
like,
the side.
it was implied that it could, but not at this point, I guess.
Yeah, and if they were trying to imply that it knew where they were, it was just toying with them. It didn't come across like that. So it's again, it's just,
it should have smiled again.
Okay, I'll try and bring myself to calm down now. I'll say this: it's, in my opinion, the best example of a cheaply bad made popcorn movie. It fits all the boxes and it doesn't try to work on them. It feels like a film that you'd fling on, but at the same time you're playing your games or you're writing your books or you're doing something else in the meantime, and that's just on, and you can look up cool, like the volcano's exploding, or there's a cool fight between a dinosaur, and that's it. I feel like there's nothing this film adds to the overall series, and it simply serves as that one film that we'd rather skip. Overall, for Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom, If you're not a die-hard fan of the Jurassic Park franchise, or movie buff in general, you can enjoy it for some of the so bad it's good qualities. But to me especially, as a film, and more importantly as a Jurassic Park film, it just fails in all the worst ways. And it's honestly, in my opinion, the definition example of how not to do a blockbuster movie. It's a blockbuster movie for idiots, in my opinion. If you turn off your brain and just wing it.
Sometimes you need a good stupid movie, like say if you had a long day, you just want to sit down and turn your brain off and watch some stupid violence. But there's plenty of other better films for that kind of stuff. There's plenty of other better things to do for that kind of stuff. Jurassic World is by no means like the best at what it does, but it's definitely an entertaining movie, and I found it quite entertaining nonetheless. But not as much as the actual Jurassic Park films. I'm not sure if that's just because of the kind of nostalgia that, say, like the first one holds, but it is, like, if you rewatch it, it is a really good movie. Much compared to these ones, especially if you watch them back to back.
Yeah. It's just a shame it had to be the Jurassic Park franchise that suffered. Again, like Star Wars, the potential these franchises have is so amazing. And so expected with today's modern technology, with today's modern screenwriters, with the talent that is at Hollywood.
I mean, look at the MCU. Look at the Conjuring universe. Look at the Godzilla and King Kong franchises. Look at the Monsterverse. These films were never made to be franchise starters, with the exception of likely Iron Man, of course. With any film, I guess there was hopes for a sequel, because of course studio execs do love their money. But each of these films, each film worked with what was needed and setting out to do. Telling a simple story, telling one story, telling a story worth telling, with characters likeable, relatable, and just going on from there. What would the characters do in this situation? And that situation, how would they react? And where would they go after the events of so-and-so? I'm sure everyone who worked on this film, and the previous film too, and likely all the Jurassic Park films, I'm sure they are very proud of what they've done, what they did with the franchise, and what everyone else thought of it. Again, regardless of what we and everyone else think. But I just feel that it was a massive letdown and a waste of potential for an iconic franchise such as Jurassic Park.
These films failed in what they tried to do. And I can understand, some people have liked bad movies, some people will like bad movies, and some people will like this movie. That's pretty evident. But I just feel like this film should have offered so much more, especially when it's the modern trilogy that we have now. Yeah. And going forward, I feel like they kind of don't have the potential that Star Wars has, where they can keep going after this. Once they do 3, that's probably going to be it.
It's a very linear story.
It's a film that should have offered so much more, and it didn't.
It's very sad that it didn't. But at least it tried. They gave us something. I can't be mad for like a little bit of entertainment, but I wish they did it a bit better.
Yeah.
But yeah, so they could completely make it up with the third film, assuming that they're going to make a third one, hopefully.
They are, but again, it falls into that category with The Last Jedi. This is the middle chapter, and it's meant to be the building film. It's the building block which will culminate with the final film.
I mean, I'm definitely.
The first one.
It did give me something to be excited about. The few dinosaurs that did get out are out, and they're free in, kind of like normal modern human civilization. And I want to see what happens. What happens to the people? How do they handle that situation? I'm pretty sure they're just going to blow the animals to bits very quickly. But it's the fact that, like, not all towns that they're going to be around will have that kind of access quickly to, like, arms. Or is the Velociraptor going to live on this? Is Blue going to live, like, around that, like, mounty area she was last seen in, just eating like random hitchhikers and stuff? Like, at what point will they be like, okay, now we just have to turn around and kill them after all this work that we did getting them here? I guess, why did the main characters bring them to the mainland? It's so dumb.
Because they're idiots. Overall, really, Lynn, what do you think about the Jurassic Park series overall? In your opinion, which trilogy would you say is the best or the better?
I I don't know if I can say too much about the Jurassic World one, just because, you know, the full trilogy isn't out for those. Hopefully it will pick up some unanswered questions from the newer ones, but to be honest, it will never beat kind of the original ones. It beats the second Jurassic Park anyway. Everything beats that movie. It's bad. That one's bad. Don't do that again, universe. But please make Jeff Goldblum star in more things. He's amazing. But it's the fact that, like, the first one was amazing, and that's what carries the series so well. That's what makes those three decent for me, was the fact that the first one was so good. The new ones are really, really fun to watch, but they're also, compared to the story, it's just not as good as, like, the first three movies, even though the other two Jurassic Parks compared to the first one were bad. I think it was just how nostalgic that film is, as well as how good it was filmed. There's nothing that Jurassic Park has made so far that has surpassed the first Jurassic Park. It was just a bit too good. Compared to the other films anyway. No, by no means is it a perfect movie, but by God, it's a lot better than some of the trash they've made recently. Other than that, Jurassic World's are very fun to watch, very kind of like, as you said, popcorn films, really good way to put it. Just really just exciting, you know, dinosaurs. That's basically the films, where they were just like, hey, look, dinosaurs! It's some good stuff, but compared to, like, how the story is written, how the characters are written, it's so bad compared. It doesn't keep up to par, in my opinion.
Okay. Well, for me, on my side, pretty much no surprise. The first one is perfect in so many ways. Again, it's not flawless, but it's clearly the best out of the series, and it's never going to be beaten, in my opinion.
Yeah. The
sequels leave a lot to be desired, but I will admit that at points, Lost World does kind of feel like a continuation, and it does still feel of sorts like a Jurassic Park film, but I feel that it's restrained by the time period it was made in, but what people were prioritizing at the time when it came to stories and characters, and I feel like that just hurt the movie in the long run.
Those movies were a victim to the time period that they were made in.
Yeah. The third one is also forgettable. It feels more like, again, it was a movie made just because they had the rights, they had the resources, and they wanted to do another one for money's sakes.
Ever since the first one, all the films kind of felt like that they made it just because they could.
Yeah, but I'd like to think there's a fine line between people wanting to do it just because of money and people who have an idea to say and a story to tell. You can kind of put the same thing on for, again, I can't think off the top of my head for any specific series, but it's possible for any series that's made just for money to have a good story to tell, to have a good story to be written by people who know it, understand it, or at the very least get it. Yeah. And I just feel like every sequel for Jurassic Park, at least the original when it comes to the first three films, the two sequels are clearly just made because, we had the potential to do so, but they didn't fully commit to what the first one offered first.
Yeah.
But, again, the first one really does kind of put that trilogy, in my opinion, on a high pedestal because it's just so great. Getting to the two sequels we have so far, and I do understand that calling it a trilogy and comparing them as trilogies, that is kind of unfair because, again, we still have yet to see Jurassic World 3. But as of now, I have the feeling that regardless of what they do,
yeah,
at this point, it's clear they're not going to try and fix anything that they've done before. They're clearly either going to...
They're clearly pushing forward with what they thought of already.
Yeah, it feels like it's just going to be Jurassic World all over again, where it's going to be a bit more better with handling the characters, but it's overall going to be, because we're just going to be turning up because dinosaurs. And that's
who knows? They might absolutely blow us away with this last one. It might be like a really, really good conclusion to Jurassic World.
And there's no doubt about that, because it's promising us dinosaurs taking over the world.
It literally has so much potential. I don't know how you can get this wrong, but I feel like they will.
Which is why I think they're probably going to fail. And because again, the logic in Fallen Kingdom makes no sense for how 11 dinosaurs captured and escaped can somehow take over the world. The only logical
breed.
not that fast, and not before machine guns get to them, in my opinion. But I just feel like I will admit that I did kind of have a kind of look into some of the theories people have about how they could get over that, and one that people have talked about a lot is that it's possible that scientists and people outside the law might have gotten their grasp on samples even before the events of the film, and there's even a scene in Fallen Kingdom itself where Doctor Who is taking samples away, and if they acknowledge it in the film, they can maybe say, oh, people have been breeding dinosaurs across the world in different factions and ways and all that, so they could explain how there's more than just those 11. But again, even there, that's kind
of a cheap way to put it.
It's a cheap way of getting over it, because again, you've messed up with the second film with only just 11 dinosaurs.
It's just putting a band-aid over the question. It's like...
Yeah, it's not like this is planned out as a trilogy. Jurassic World 3 has the potential, but it's clearly obvious that they're not going to try and fix it, or at the very least they're not going to try and deliver on the promise of what the first one offers, and they're just going to be it's just going to be another CGI fest for dinosaur fans. I feel like it would be more in tune with the first Jurassic World film. It would probably be better.
If it's entertaining enough, I will welcome it with open arms, regardless, because dinosaurs are cool, and we don't have enough dinosaur films. But they can still handle it a lot better than it's going at the moment. I'm kind of sad it doesn't live up to, because we have all this new technology. You would think it will be, an amazing movie, but that's never really the case with movies with such high budgets on the CGI and the effects, because that's what they focus on. They focus on the action rather than the story, rather than like the actual matters at hand. And the characters, they kind of gloss over it and they replace good playable characters or good, actors with The Rock, Dwayne Johnson, or Kevin Hart. They're gonna probably throw those two in the next film.
Yeah, they're doing
I wouldn't
it
be surprised, to be honest. He's in every film now.
I really hope not. You need to stoop. You've already stooped.
I'm gonna
so
punch
low.
this T-Rex right in the fucking face.
They wouldn't do that.
Yeah. It's like, god damn it.
Oh, God. But yeah. Closing off my thoughts though, Jurassic World and Fallen Kingdom have some things to enjoy, but both of them overall leave a lot to be desired, especially in Fallen Kingdom's box. Regardless of what they end up doing with the final film, that cannot fix what they messed up doing. So if I had to compare trilogies, the original trilogy wins, because say what you will about those two sequels and how they are kind of on a similar level with Jurassic World and Fallen Kingdom to an extent, they still have the first one and elements in the said films that are enjoyable or worth watching. Again, I am frustrated at what the characters do in the Lost World film, but the concept of exploring the island more and exploring those kind of characters and the kind of themes that it explores, even though it's not always done good, it's enjoyable. Jurassic World 3, again, a wasted movie that doesn't need to exist, but it's kind of trying to explore this story of a family reuniting, even though they're idiots. And those few scenes with Grant and the kids, they're enjoyable to watch, and the pterodactyl scene is great.
Yeah.
Fallen Kingdom and Lost World, they have some scenes that kind of fit into that criteria, but because there's so much bad in them, and so much dumb, and so much boring, and so much other stuff that just puts you in such a frustrating mindset because it's made today, when they could be doing so much better, it just puts it so much low. So in my opinion, the original trilogy wins.
Yeah, I gotta agree with you there. Park beats the world this time, but that opinion may change if I join you again for another review on Jurassic World 3.
Yeah, and they might change one day.
Yeah, our opinions might change. Jurassic World 3 might bring all our opinions tumbling down. It might be the best movie ever. I doubt it, but it might be. I'm giving it the benefit of a goddamn doubt, because how can you fucking take the idea of dinosaurs taking over the world and make it bad?
Maybe, but you never know what they could do. I mean, look at Star Wars. Regardless of what they do in Episode 9, you can't change what came with Last Jedi. Same thing comes for Jurassic Park. Whatever they do, no matter how amazing it is, you can't fault that they had 2 bad films that came before it. and
I do feel quite
lackluster films that came before that as well.
I do feel quite bad for them, just because they have to live up to the expectation of how good Jurassic Park 1 was. So they are under a lot of pressure, but they didn't go about it in the right ways. They're just doing their own thing, which is fine. Go ahead and do your own thing, but like, don't make it crap.
Yeah.
Don't put The Rock Dwayne Johnson in it, please.
Yeah. Lesson of the day: don't make it crap.
Yeah.
So yeah, I guess we can now move on to our final topic. Really, what do you think you would have done if you had control of the series? Put it in this mindset: you've been approached to do the Jurassic World trilogy. In this case, we could maybe go back and extend and say you've been given the task of doing Jurassic Park 3 and then do the sequel trilogy as well. But in this case, just for you at least, we'll talk about just the trilogy, the World trilogy. Yeah. How would you have done it if you were in charge?
Just the World trilogy, or just all
it can be the third film or anything past the first one, whichever one.
So if the first one was my staple, definitely I'm happy with that. The second one definitely would continue the story and not just switch character to. I would continue it from Alan Grant. What they would be doing was what I would thought they would be doing in this one is like going back for research, or he got dragged back to the island for something kind of similar to that. I can't write movies, so I'm not like imagining it setting up plot points, but it would make more sense if they continued it from Alan Grant all the way to the third film, and instead of just cutting him out of the second film completely, and then all of a sudden having this random kind of character development where like him and was it Sarah?
Ellie,
where him and Ellie just weren't together anymore randomly. It reminds me a lot of Jurassic World. It seems to be an ongoing point where it's just like, oh, whoops, they broke up. They just kind of got rid of Ellie. I would have kept Ellie because she's a great character in the first one. One of my more favourite characters, actually. But yeah, then I would just I don't, to be honest, I don't know what I would do for the second one. Something fun, maybe something stupid. Maybe it'll turn out exactly the same. But the third one, I would make it so Alan Grant's son they had with Ellie is old enough to like do stuff, maybe like 16, 15. He's a dumb kid, but he knows lots about dinosaurs, but he wants to see him in person. But Alan Grant the entire time has been like, no, they're too dangerous, you can't do it, because he's had that experience. So he was pushing that experience onto his son, so his son is like, fuck this, I want to rebel. He goes to the island himself, smuggles himself onto an island on a research thing, and Alan Grant is like, crap, I gotta go to the island. So he goes to the island to find his son, and the whole thing happens, but it's his son. And the reason his son survived is because he knows so much about dinosaurs, not just because he's a random kid that knows better than his parents to walk out of the plane with a megaphone. So yeah, that's what I would do for the third ones. But the Jurassic World, the first Jurassic World, I would change a few bits here and there, but I would quite like that to stay quite similar, I guess, because it is a different concept. Again, kind of like Jurassic Park 2, I don't know what I would do with the first Jurassic World to set up that world, but I know what I would do in Fallen Kingdom, and it's not anything they did. So the motosaur at the beginning, yes, that would be like a tense fucking scene. That would be good stuff. Claire wouldn't be kind of like this activist. The place wouldn't be blowing up or anything like that. But they heard that people are going to take away these dinosaurs, or they're going to kill them, or something along that lines. Or even better, Dr. Wu. If the whole point of them going to the island was to stop him from keep making these abominations, these horrible hybrids, maybe it would have been a fun movie if they went to the island and it was just covered in hybrids. And they were just like crazy, vicious dinosaurs, or like much bigger or weirder dinosaurs, where he was just making loads of dinosaurs randomly. He was trying to make the most perfect one, and that's when he made the Endoraptor. And then they had to go there and they had to stop him. That would have been quite cool, because that would have been them kind of like trying to survive, get through the island, you know, with all these like monstrous abominations running about. Maybe that would have been a bit more entertaining to watch rather than Save the dinosaurs.
Yeah.
Like the random change of heart that Claire had, but
Yeah.
maybe the thing would be to stock Dr. Wu, because he seems like a really, really good staple for a villain.
Yeah,
He's doing it for science. He's doing it.
He could all the concept of, oh, I'm doing this because I know what I've done is a miracle and I can do good things with it. Maybe they could even play with, oh, he thinks he's doing the right thing.
He's playing God. That's the whole point that makes him such a good villain. Is the fact that he's playing God and he doesn't realise how dangerous it is what he's actually doing. He's doing it because he's trying to further science. He's trying to further mankind in bringing back, which, by the way, bringing back an extinct species is amazing. But I would also explore the fact that, say, if they walked into like Dr. Wu's massive like underground lab that he was hiding in at the first bit, and they see loads of animals that were not in the Jurassic period, but quite recently that went extinct. And he brought those back. He was going so crazy with power that they had to stop him. Like, bringing back some endangered species can be really, really good. Like, some species of, like, say pandas are nearly extinct. What if he made loads of them? What if he, like, when they walked in, they saw, like saber-toothed tigers? Stuff that we kind of, like, the human race made go extinct. Maybe he would bring back a few. Like, say he brought back loads of bumblebees, which are currently going extinct. Like, he like, they walk in and they realise he's actually doing some really good work. We have to combat our own moral ideas to say we need to stop him, because he's bringing back extinct species that would, like, do the Earth all good. But he's also making giant fucking dinosaurs. So we need to stop him. That would be a good idea.
Yeah, that would be more compelling.
And he had the Indoraptor as a god dinosaur. I don't know.
It sounds a lot more. It sounds a lot more interesting than him just doing it because he's working for money.
Yeah,
he's working for the money greeting guys.
His motive, I think, wasn't his motive sciencey anyway, rather than.
It was, but again, it wasn't the main focus. It was just because, oh, you're just the guy who makes them. That's it. That's your benefit.
He seemed way, even though he was the one goddamn making these monstrosities, he didn't get enough attention that he should have. So I would have given him all the attention as the main villain.
Honestly, your pitch sounds a lot more entertaining than any of those films. But yeah, getting on to my pitch, really. So yeah, I've been wanting to say this for a while. And I actually was planning to save this for another video series that I'm getting around to doing, but since it's going to take forever to do, I might as well just say this now. And honestly, I'm in the mood. So, if you were to ask me how I would have done Jurassic Park going forward for the series, I would have kicked off doing the third one. Because as much as I don't like the second one, it is based on the second book that Crichton wrote. So I kind of feel obligation to at least have those two exist in canon, as stupid as the second one is.
Yeah, so in my opinion, I mean the same thing. Just because as well, I can't think of anything.
Yeah. So again, pretty much similar to your own pitch. My pitch for 3 would essentially be more of the personal story, continuing what came from with the first one. It's on Alan Grant and Ellie. They're still together, and it could either I kind of have it go two ways. Either he's living on the island per se, doing further research on them, and his son somehow smuggles himself to the island to be with him, and they can go on a father-son adventure trying to get off the island because he's gathered the data or whatever, and he now needs to go home to Ellie. Or the one I favour more, which you already went into really, where him and Ellie are still together, but they have this distance with their son because their son loves dinosaurs so much, but he's unsure of it, and that leads to them having an argument. And when he goes to the island, they end up having to go back to rescue him, and it's all about family trying to reunite. And yeah, that kind of what you already talked about. But the meat of my story, oh boy. Now, if you were to come to me and I say, how would you do the sequel trilogy to Jurassic Park? What would I have done? First off the bat, Claire and Owen, they don't exist. In place of them,
I like it.
In place of them, we have 3 characters. The first character is Lex Murphy from the original Jurassic Park film. Now, this film has essentially one plot. It could have maybe some small side plots, but they overall intertwine into this main plot. The first plot is about Lex. Now, in my pitch, it's been, as in the film, 22 years since the events of the first film. And
just to anyone that doesn't know, by the way, Lex Murphy is the little girl from the first Jurassic Park.
Yeah, and essentially in those 22 years since, she's had a life, she's gotten married, she's had a kid. However, because the world now knows about dinosaurs, and because of her scarred experience with the first film, it's made life difficult for her. She's broken up with her husband, they're divorced, and she's finding it difficult to raise her kids. So their family was part of the Hammonds. They are decently rich, but she didn't want anything to do with that because of what came with Jurassic Park. So her brother Tim, he is now working as a businessman. Maybe it's for Engine, maybe it's for some other company, but essentially he's rich and doing fine, but he's still there for his sister, but he's just not the centre focus of attention. So Lex is basically very unsure and very scared of going back to Jurassic Park, essentially, so relive that experience. But her kid's getting to an age now where she wants to have this experience. He wants to go to Jurassic World. So in a thought to kind of confront her own demons and be there for her son, give him a life of experience, they go to Jurassic World. And who do they meet there? Above all coincidences, they meet, in my pitch, Oliver Grant, who in my version would be Alan Grant's son from Jurassic Park III. He's 22 now, estimate, because if he was born in 1993, he would be 22 by 2015, I believe. So he's at an age where he's finding himself in the world now. He might be working for Jurassic World. He might just be visiting on other duties for his job that he's in now, maybe. They kind of know each other from the fact that his father has talked about
through mutual acquaintances and whatnot,
yeah.
So they don't know each other.
They don't know each other personally, but they have a sort of loose history where, oh, Lex, it's good to see you. I haven't seen you in years. How are you doing?
I haven't seen you since the Christmas party in 1992.
So they can meet up and have a bit of a chat. And again, it's all about bringing in legacy characters and having them be the focus of attention. Kind of like what Star Wars didn't do, where they just brought in new characters and expected you to like them from the bat off. Lex is the main character of the new trilogy. And you've got Oliver Grant there, a familiar face, but he's got the name tied to the originals, so that makes sense. And it's kind of putting the focus away from those characters, but still having that connection. The third character I would have would be Owen Grady. However, the twist with this character is that he can still be played by Chris Pratt. He can still be a raptor trainer, but there's one thing I would change, and that is he is not just some random guy who's good with raptors and is good because he's good. He's good because he is actually the American kid from the first film as well. If you remember, and if anyone else listening who doesn't remember, he's the kid at the beginning of the movie who Alan Grant scares with a velociraptor claw. And in that film, diehard fans will know this theory, that a big theory cropped around the time Jurassic World was being released, where people thought, oh, could Owen's character be this kid growing up? And even in that film, and in Fallen Kingdom, they never bothered to ignore that or acknowledge that plot, that theory. So
it's such a good opportunity.
Wasted opportunity, yeah. But essentially it boils down to this kid was basically told by Alan Grant that these creatures, these raptors, are not creatures. They're not Bigfoot turkeys, essentially. So you should treat them with some respect. And when you look at Owen's character in the film, who's all about treating raptors with respect, it makes sense. It makes
sense, yeah.
Yeah, it's a progression of a minor character to the extent of where he is now as a main character. And
jeez, Universal, hire this man.
I'm more willing. But yeah, so, and I would also have some more detailed history on where he's been doing since then, what he's been doing, that kind of thing. Again, it's all about building the characters and giving them motivations for why they would be there. For American kid Owen, it would make sense for him to go on this path from what he was told about by the famous man Alan Grant. And after the events of Jurassic Park and everyone finding out about it in The Lost World, it would make sense that he would want to take the famous man's advice and put those skills to his own experience. And that eventually leads him to where we happen here in Jurassic World. Now, these plots would intertwine in that Lex would meet Owen, they maybe hit off together, they don't have to like each other off the bat, but there's a mutual understanding. Whatever. The point is, they meet, they sort of go to know each other, and meanwhile Oliver is looking after Alex's kid.
Wouldn't she be a lot older than him as well, though?
Yeah, they'd be around like in her 30s, I believe. Again, Lex is like 15, 12. She's a young. I think she's like an early teen by the first film. So if you count the 20 years that have happened since then, she'd be in her early 30s. And Chris Pratt is like 35 or something.
Oh, you mean Chris Pratt? I thought you meant Alan Grant's son for some reason.
Oh no, he's 22. So
yeah, no, I was going to say there's a bit of a gap there, but yeah, no, that makes sense if you got like you know, get old Chrissy involved.
Yeah, but yeah. Essentially, Oliver Grant would be, because she has a bit of a history with him. She trusts him to the extent of looking after her kids. So I'm feeling uncomfortable looking around this place with all these dinosaurs. Can you look after my son? Get him have a nice tour of the island and have the experience. I just need to be by myself for a bit. And she can go on to meet Owen, and maybe the park personnel notice her from her history, and she can meet a Claire-esque character who looks after the park, and she's like the big money-grabbing person who's like, oh, we're doing this because we want the park to be good, and she will, when things start to go haywire, she doesn't take acknowledgement of that, kind of like Claire does in the film.
Yeah,
but Lex
pretty
is,
much.
yeah, because of her experience with what happened in the first film, she knows when things are starting to go awry. Owen agrees with her. So again, it's building those characters, but also using their experiences to the plot, not just, oh, we need you to evacuate the island. We'd never reopen. Okay, wasting human life there. And from there, it can just be like what happens in the actual film. It's Lex and Owen trying to rescue her son and Oliver from the Indominus Rex.
That would be so good if your Claire-esque character, like, everything started to go to shit, and like they were like, you need to evacuate these people now, and she was just like, it's better if there's no witnesses, and then like takes off on something like in a helicopter and just watches the chaos. That'd be insane.
Yeah. In my pitch,
make her such an evil villain.
In my pitch, Henry Wu is as he is in the film, really, because I think he did all right in the first film for what he was good to do. I think the Claire-esque character would be more just she grows to acknowledge that what I'm doing is wrong. I should do better. I should help these people escape and shut down the park. And she's the one who gets killed by the Mosasaurus when it attacks her. So she learned a lesson, but she still died. So yeah, give the character who deserves the death the death.
But I feel like movies are very afraid of killing off like characters.
Yeah, I mean, even in the actual film, people gave the director shit because he killed that woman in such a violent way, and yet there was no warrant for it.
I mean, not a huge amount of people actually like died in Jurassic World that you saw. Like most of it was like mass hysteria. The most I saw people getting injured was the
random guards by the raptors.
Yeah, like that kind of stuff. But yeah, it didn't even turn out to be that violent.
Yeah, but that would be the bulk of my pitch for Jurassic World. It's essentially bringing in characters that we have a familiarity with and building on them and what they would have gone through in those years. And maybe at the end of the film, when Lex and her son reunite, Oliver he's smiling to himself, knowing that, oh, I survived Jurassic World like my parents did. And then Ellie can come in as a cameo, and she can just them have a little embrace. And then Lex and Owen can have that scene like in the film where, oh, what do we do now? Survive, and it's a hint of a romantic relationship. But they don't kiss in this film. Again, it could be a slow burn. Because again, nothing's wrong with bloody building character and setups.
Or maybe they kiss when everything is done and not in the middle of a swarming dinosaur swarm, you know.
Yeah, but in my pitch, they wouldn't get together in this film. That leads into my pitch for Fallen Kingdom. And what would I do? For starters, no cliched bad guys or Franklin Webb. In my pitch, it begins pretty much in a similar fashion. I will admit, as stupid as it is, the concept of the dinosaur island exploding, that is quite cool, and it does add some tension. Yeah. So Lex's
sense of time.
Yeah, so Lex is living a dream now. She's feeling a bit more better with herself since the events of Jurassic World. And she and Owen, they're still in contact, but he's been gone for a few months, and she doesn't know where. She then gets contacted by her brother, who informs her that, oh, the news will be hitting tomorrow, but it's going to explode. There's a volcano erupting, and it seems Jurassic Park is finally going to die. So this is likely going to be the last time we see these things alive. And instead of trying to point a stupid rescue mission to save these creatures, Lex, Oliver Grant, maybe Tim as well, and they all basically, the team that we've come familiar with. Yeah, Jeff Goldblum they can come out for a family dinner or something with Alan Grant and Ellie, and it can be a nice little bit of a reunion, and they talk about what should they do.
He should start talking about like he should start reading Lex's palms. Like the scene from Jurassic Park in the car where he was like, I could tell your future from your palms and stuff. Oh, that would be such a little like nod to that moment as well, because they're all sitting around like a dinner table, kind of similar to how they were in the car.
Yeah, they could do a nice little tease of, yeah, let me tell you a future. Yeah. I did it to your mother once.
Just while the camera pans over him and he's just like cross-hatching in the background, you know, talking to the character.
Yeah.
I don't know. It'd be a nice little development there.
That'd be nice. But yeah, so they'd be talking around dinner, and Lex would bring up the volcano, and and Oliver's parents would be, and Ian Malcolm would be very adamant that we should leave it. We should let the dinosaurs die, let them be remembered in history. But Lex has this need to see it one last time because she wants that closure. She's faced her fears from Jurassic World, but now she wants to feel the closure of seeing them one last time before they forever go extinct. And Oliver feels this too because even though he survived Jurassic World, he doesn't have that experience with the first island. So with the first event, so he wants to be there when it ends. You know, I might not have been there when it began, but I want to be there when it ends. So those two have that drive to go back to the island on that regard. Lex's son, he stays out of the picture in this one. Maybe she can go to, again, if whichever way you want to go, if Tim is not part of this film and he doesn't go with them, maybe she can take him to his house, which is a mansion or something, and she can have him live there for a bit. Maybe there's a girl there and they can hit it off. Again, wherever way you want to go. The point is, the kid is not with them when they go to the island, so no need for unnecessary kid drama.
Yeah, no need to drag around dead weight.
Yeah. So she then gets in contact with Owen finally, and she asks him, "I want to go back to the island. Will you come with me?" And he says, "Oh yeah, I'm definitely going to go. Besides, I was actually going to ask you to go soon." And she's
what if he just turned around and he's like, and the reason he's been gone so long is because he turns around and he's like, I am on the island.
Oh, that too. But yeah, the point is, yeah, they're all going to the island at this point, and they agree at first to not leave the plane or the helicopter or whatever, but then they get shot down and they crash on the island. They then find out that they've only got a few hours to go until the island explodes, so they have to race against time to get back to a visitor centre or another member of the section of the park to send out a signal for rescue. Or whatever reason, they know there's a chopper there maybe. Whatever reason, the point is they have to get to this part of the island. So they can go through the journey of getting across the island, kind of like in Lost World. And so it has that tension of, we've got to reach the clock to get to the island, to get to this point of the island. We can maybe see some new dinosaurs, some classic dinosaurs. Because again, a lot of the dinosaurs in Lost World and a lot of the dinosaurs in Fallen Kingdom were just there for the sake of trailer fodder, or just there because, look at these cool dinosaurs, but they're only on there for a few seconds. So this could have maybe really pushed out the new dinosaurs, the old dinosaurs, and so on. And then maybe they can see, as you said, genetic hybrids every once in a while, and they figure out something's going on the island. And when they actually get to the centre, they're captured by a group of smugglers, and they find out that, shock of all horror, Doctor Wu's been there. He's been there since the 2015 incident, and he's been furthering his experiments. He thinks what he's doing is right. He thinks he's saving the endangered species of all these animals, but he's also creating new ones. He's got that god complex, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
And as a minor subplot for the film, before they're captured, Lex finds out that the reason Owen wants to come back to the island was because he wants to rescue Blue, and she's against this because, of course, these raptors, as she experienced in the first film,
are
they're
terrifying
dangerous
to her. Yeah.
Yeah, and that puts friction between them, but they go through some experiences. They nearly end up getting killed at one point by some of the dinosaurs. Lex gets separated from the group maybe, and she
It'd be great if a
gets nearly killed.
Spinosaurus turns up, please.
Yeah, that could turn up. But yeah, she nearly gets attacked by one of the dinosaurs maybe, or maybe one of the hybrids. But then Blue comes in and saves her, and because it recognises her from the events of Jurassic World maybe, or for whatever reason, she's unintentional or not.
Or maybe like a kind of smaller. You know the predator with the big. It's called a diplodocus. Not a diplodocus. It's called a. So what if like a Diplosaurus comes up? That's the one with the really big head fan that kills the
Dennis Nedry.
Yeah, that kills Dennis Nedry from Jurassic Park.
Yeah, that could be one of them. But the point is,
maybe that will come in to try and like kill Lex, but then Blue jumps in and kills that. But then she's quite confused. But then Blue turns to her because obviously, like, she doesn't have any control over Blue. Blue goes to like attack her as well, but then Owen comes in and stops her maybe.
Yeah, maybe. Whichever way you want to spin it. The point is, the raptor saves her, and she sort of gets to this feeling of, yeah, you may be dangerous, and I will never forget that, but you saved my life. I'm grateful, so I've got to at least let Owen help you, and if need be, if you will allow, that kind of thing. Again, it doesn't change her forever morals, because she still thinks they're dangerous, but she at least harbors some respect for this specific raptor because it saved her life. Intentional
it's
or
not like she still has an innate fear over the species, but not that particular one she's grateful for.
Yeah, so yada yada yada, they get captured by the bad guys who are working for Dr. Wu, and they go through this little talk about how, oh, you shouldn't be doing this, that kind of thing, God complex, and maybe that's when they can introduce or maybe as seeded throughout the film, they have talks of, oh, there's one predator that's been going around killing all the others. Maybe we can see like hybrid prototypes of them, and then we get to the Indominus Rex officially at the lab, and maybe Oliver finds a way to set it loose, kills all the guards, and there's a scene where Owen is maybe trapped between the door or something and the raptor, and we think in a second that he's dead because it cuts to the other team escaping, and Lex gets shot in the leg by Dr. Wu. He's trying to prevent them from escaping, but then Owen comes out of nowhere. He survived, and he pushes Dr. Wu off the edge of the cliff, but before he pushes him, maybe Dr. Wu leaves some kind of almost ominous message saying that you can't beat me, you can't beat them, they're out there now, it's their world. And he falls and he gets eaten by the T-Rex, maybe.
Swallowed by something massive.
Yeah, he gets eaten by the T-Rex, that's how I would envision it. So, and then we can have the Indominus Rex fighting the T-Rex. No, the Indoraptor fighting the T-Rex maybe after that. And the others escaping the helicopter. And we think they're safe. And then, again, this is kind of stupid as well, because again, don't really know how I would factor it in.
Lex has a dream and a Velociraptor sitting next to her and turns around and is like, you alright there?
Yeah, no. But, so they're back on the helicopter and they're returning back to the mainland. But they then find out that, oh no, somehow the dinosaurs have gotten to the mainland. And that's how it would end the film, with the dinosaurs already on the mainland. And the only way I could figure this out happening is that maybe, again, as the people behind the scenes have kind of tried to imply in marketing material, maybe people have been...
Yeah, maybe there were some other factions they just didn't run into.
Yeah.
On the island stealing dinosaurs.
Yeah, but I feel like overall, that's how I would have pitched the Jurassic World trilogy so far. And again, the third film can be it's The Last of Us, but with dinosaurs. We can have Alan Grant and Ellie and Ian Malcolm be more of a central role alongside them now that they're surviving in this new world. And either it can end with everyone dying, or they can find some way to stop the dinosaurs from taking over, but they can have this definite ending where we should never let these creatures survive again, or endure, whatever. The point is, whatever ending they try to do with the final film, probably some twisted version of what that turns out to be. But the point is, for my pitch, it focuses on characters established in the earlier films and builds on them. It uses the characters and their feelings, their experiences,
actually
and all that
writes them with
central
personalities
stage.
Would be nice, yeah.
Yeah, it's exploring the characters. That's what I try to do with my stories. That's what I would have done with Jurassic Park. And Fallen Kingdom should have felt like a film that closed off the Park Island story. So it would have been them going to the island one last time, in story and for the audience. And the island is destroyed at the end. But they weren't just there for like a few minutes of the movie. They were there for the film. And it's all about just reliving that experience for the last time. And it's using the characters to their advantage.
I think that's a much better pitch than whatever the fuck they came up with. I think you and me were on the kind of like same wavelength there.
Oh yeah.
Where we were like Doctor Wu would be a big part of it. Where like I really like your idea of carrying on Lex.
Yeah, which is a shame. They kind of did that with the comic books or something, I think. But no one's ever thought of that for the main films, which is stupid. Again, I get it. You love Chris Pratt, but couldn't he have... He could have been American Kid, and it makes so much sense.
He could have still been in the movie, just not as the main character, maybe.
Yeah, I guess we'll never know. But
oh
yeah.
well, they've done what they've done. Our pitches sound way better.
Oh yeah. Also, I'd like to add, this is more of like a bonus question, really, but post Jurassic World 3, do you think the series could survive beyond that film? Maybe in future films or a television series? Because again, just bringing this up, I did recall recently that there was going to be a Jurassic Park television series called Jurassic Park Chaos Effect. Never was made, but...
Dumb name, by the way.
Yeah. But I was wondering, do you think they could try and do that if they ever do want to continue with this franchise?
I feel like they could... easily kind of spin it off in a few other things. Like a TV show would probably be most effective, to be honest. It's probably the best way to lead this rather than, more films. Because if you release more films, like always a Jurassic film will be compared to the Jurassic Park series and the Jurassic World series itself. So there's a lot of pressure on whoever is making that. So I feel like they would go with a TV series more likely. Probably some kind of Netflix adaptation where they hire the complete wrong actors. That sounds pretty accurate, to be honest.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah, in my opinion, once 3 comes out, that's got to be it for the film side. Again, I can't imagine what they could do after 6 films, pretty much just the same thing.
Yeah,
and only working good once. So I think TV would be the most likely bet if they want to continue milking that cow. If they were going to do a series, it would have to be on 2 potential candidates as of now, which would be maybe exploring Doctor Wu's story. Because again, I admit there is kind of a disjoint between what happened to him between the first film and how he became the bad guy of the new trilogy. But yeah, I think that would be an interesting thing to explore if they had to, or if they wanted to go full whatever and just do something completely separate. That would make sense, and again, it would take them away from all the god-awful sequels that they did. So it made sense not to want to be associated with those ones.
Yeah.
Oh well, yeah, I guess that sums it up really. So, honestly, that's my thoughts for the Jurassic Park series overall, my thoughts on which trilogy is better, and overall
Park
I
is
think
better.
I would... Shut up. But yeah, and kind of really how I would have pitched it had they given me the chance to.
I understand we haven't acknowledged every fault with the franchise, because believe me, there is a lot more to discuss with what they did wrong. And to be fair, some of the things they did do right. But I would mainly like to reiterate that we understand not everyone will agree with our chosen opinions. And that's the end of the day, that is okay. If you like what's been done with this Jurassic Park brand, then by all means, you do you and enjoy it to your heart's content. But for us, and for me especially, the World trilogy so far just didn't deliver for me.
Anything else you'd like to add to it, Lynn?
Pretty much just nothing will beat Jurassic Park 1 on the movie side. So, I mean, I'm hoping Jurassic World 3 is good, but I'm not going to get my hopes up too much.
Okay. And honestly, I think that's the best thing we can do. Just
Yeah.
keep it with low expectations, and we might be surprised.
Yeah.
So everyone, that's a wrap. Thank you for joining us. I hope you enjoyed today's episode. Subscribe if you'd like to hear more from us. I am Kobi,
I'm Lennon.
and this is Grey Owl Entertainment. Lynn, tell us a little about where we can find you.
I have a gaming channel on YouTube, like most people. Just pretty much experimenting, playing some games. I haven't uploaded any videos yet, but there will be videos up very soon. Probably by the time you're listening to this, there will be some videos up. So you can hopefully look forward to that. Feel free to tune in. Just going to have some fun with some games, see what we can do. I haven't quite figured out a formula to do, so hopefully you stick with me and we'll see where this channel goes. Thank you. Thank you for having me, Kobe.
It was good to have you on, Lynn.
It was great being here. Thank you for having me.
Thank you everyone for listening, and we'll see you next time. Goodbye.
Bye.
Whichever way you try to...
Whichever. Like fucking Tweety Bird. Go on.
They're idiots. They're idiots. The idiots. The idiots.
Fucking stupid ass.
Okay, find the feet.
Oh jeez, can you hear that, by the way?
Yeah, who's that?
My dog shaking a raggy.